welcome to the Infinity Bros podcast, the only podcast that is perfectly balanced, as all things should be. Here on a beautiful Saturday evening, grateful you're here. Thanks for taking time to be with us. As always, you can check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and theinfinitybros.com. I'm here with one other Infinity Bro today, and a special guest. But first, it's Infinity Bro Mark. Mark, how are you?
Doing great. Glad to be back for the 8th week in a row. Or maybe I missed 1 week. I don't remember. But back for WandaVision. I'm all in on WandaVision for the Infinity Bros universe.
I cannot believe we've reached the end of it. Like, next week is the end of it.
Maybe it's the end.
We'll talk about that in a bit. And then a great friend of mine, friend of the show, Mr. Magic from Jeek Nation podcast, Matt Williams. Matt, how you doing, man?
Doing great, Max. Glad to finally be able to grace my presence upon the Infinity Bros podcast.
Dude, we have been needing to get you on for a little bit. And that's putting it nicely. Dude, so pumped you're here. Wish your co-host was here.
Yes.
But we're gonna have a blast tonight. We're gonna talk about a lot of things, and I'm dying to hear some of your opinions because last week Matt shot me a message, says I gotta be on your episode 8 review. I said okay. I said we'll make it happen, and we made it happen, and we're here now. And it's the first time actually a guest I think is demanded to be on our show, Mark. I usually think we have to send them payments.
That energy, that it was a demand join to the podcast. Like,
he held us hostage. You know, we were worried. We're like, all right, well, I guess we're going on, or Matt's going to take our podcast from us, or our birthdays. And so, yeah, we're going to talk about WandaVision today. That's why you're here. Episode 8 review. It's going to be great. We're going to finally get to review some of the nerd news that we've been, like, Mark, for like weeks, we've been putting off some nerd news. Mortal Kombat trailer. Zack Snyder final cut trailer. Don't play that game. Don't play that game. It's an hour and a half. We got some little bits. We'll get into hot or snot. We're going to close out the show with our top 5 guilty pleasures. So once we're done with WandaVision, give us a try. Stick around. We'd love for you to hear some more of what we have to do. But before we get into that, we have a couple things we need to take care of first. First, we have our another review for us, Mark, from iTunes.
It must be above 3 stars, otherwise you wouldn't read it. Am I correct on that?
The rule is if it's below 3 stars, we belittle you. So I will still read it.
No. Again, you belittle them.
Well, we. I think the problem for me, Mark, is nobody sent us a less than 3-star review yet, and I just know there's somebody out there that likes us that would do it. So we'll see. It'll eventually happen. This is from Past Brian Sow. He's actually sent one before, Mark. What is your ethical opinion on people sending reviews for a second time?
Maybe they got really hyped from the last episode they listened to that they felt like they needed to review it again. Or if you go like this, you know, you leave your review maybe last year, and now a whole year of podcasts have gone through. So it's like you want to leave another review. Like, what if they've changed and you want to let people know, hey, don't respect my last review because they've changed and they suck now. So, you know.
Are we breaking podcast rules here, Matt? Are we breaking podcast rules from your guys' perspective? Like, does Jeek Nation, once you have a review, you read it once and you're done?
If we get a review, we're just glad to get a review. We're just like, hey, somebody took the time to type words about us. So I don't care if it's bad. I don't care if it's great. I care that someone took the time to type words about us.
Here's what I'll say. I do not hear what I'm saying as like me complaining that we got another, like, oh, we have so many reviews. That's not the point. The point I'm saying is I'm just trying to figure this whole thing out as we review it. It does sound very facetious when we do it that way. Past Brian Sells says, been listening from the start, and I just want to say you all have really come into your voices. I feel you are so close to being a viral podcast. Keep it up, bros. Love you 3000. Buying cocks all day. And for those that don't understand that, you'll have to go back a couple episodes. We'll leave it at that.
That's a great review.
That's. I mean, when you get a 5-star review and then you get an inside joke within the 5-star review that only some of your listeners are going to know, it's a good day.
And some pretty nice constructive criticism that some people would take that wrong, but coming into your voices, that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, he sent us a 5-star the first time around too. So
it would have been funny if he would have said that and gave us a 4-star instead.
You guys are really coming into your voices, but you've actually lost 20% of your value since I last saw you.
Good luck in your future endeavors.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Brian. We appreciate that. And if you appreciate our podcast, we'd love for you to leave us a review on Apple iTunes. Yeah, even if it's a 3-star review or less, we'll read it still, but we'd love for you to do that. Matt, we we have a tradition here at the Infinity Bros podcast, though,
Ooh.
that anytime we have a guest on, we put them through what we call the Infinity Gauntlet. When we send you the show notes, we do not include the Infinity Gauntlet. And it's a series of questions that could be all over the place. But it's like Whose Line Is It Anyway? They're made up and they don't really matter in the grand scheme of things. But we still want to know your answers.
That's okay. I was prepared for this because I listened to the other episode with the guest.
Yes. So when you actually listen, so you have a leg up on other people. But we've had people on. For instance, last week we had AJ Mansour from locally in Minnesota, Power Trip Morning Show.
Yes.
He was a little floored, but he handled it well. And we usually get some bros sending questions, and every bro but one sent one in. So I'm going to start with Infinity Bro Jarrett's question. He says, that's a question. Your life depends on someone gladly and willingly giving you $1 million. How do you get it?
How do I get it? I call my family. I've got, my older sister's a doctor. My cousin's a doctor. I've got a cousin in the NFL Hall of Fame. I call family and say I need some money.
The cousin in the Hall of Fame feels like the first phone call to me.
No, because he's a third cousin, so that's a desperate call.
But your life depends on it here, Matt.
Yeah, but still, like, look, there's something with this is a culture thing with black folk. You always have that cousin or family member that you see only at the family reunion who always wants to hold something, always needs a little something, needs a little money here and there, and that you never get back. And I'm not that cousin, but when you only talk every 4 or 5 years and then you call for money, you put those lower on the list, Yeah,
you don't want to be that guy.
Exactly.
Or that girl. I guess there's that girl too.
No one wants to be that family member. So that one, that's a desperation one. You call the ones that are your closest to first because they got money. They got money too. So
okay,
I can make 10 phone calls and get that $1 million.
Wow, that's a strong.
But that's only because my life depends on it.
That's fair. No, I get it.
If I call them and say,
yes,
I want to start a business, can you give me some money? They're gonna be like, well, I don't know. That's different.
Yeah, I have never been there in regards to receiving that phone call. But maybe one day I will. The second one comes from Infinity Bro Zane. He says, you're suddenly transported to any horror movie universe. Which one would you least like to be in? And do you think you could survive in it?
Least likely, wow. That would be any of these crazy shark ones because... black people be getting eaten up except for LL Cool J all the time. I can swim, but I can't tread water for very long because of my feet. They're so big they actually cause a reverse. They pull me under instead of keeping me up. So, yeah, anything, Jaws, Deep Blue Sea, Sharknado, the Meg, the Deep, whatever, none of those.
Go Shark.
Yeah, no shark stuff. And I'm fat, so it's going to come after me and try to eat me up.
Yeah, I think you're speaking to a healthy. Well, not healthy is the wrong word. There's a parallel to other people there in this.
You're talking to the two healthiest Infinity Bros, man.
Robbie's like doing curls when he's listening to this right now. We're healthier than Zane, I can tell you that. Here comes from Infinity Bro Isaac. What is a fandom genre of geek and nerd culture that you haven't gotten into yet for whatever reason?
Oh, okay. I answered this actually to one of my members in Jeek Nation today. I am not into Pokemon.
Wow.
I am a little. I'm a little too old for it.
How old are you, Matt?
I'm almost 39. I'm almost 39.
Okay.
So I'm almost 40. So when Pokemon dropped in '96, I was in high school. And then when it really dropped in the States when the game came out, that was '98. So I was a sophomore or junior in high school. So, and it wasn't, geared towards that age group. It was geared towards, your elementary school, middle school kids. So I was a little just on the cusp of being a little too old for the Pokemon craze. And I also was never, a card game player. Like I was never into any of those. The only card games I play are traditional card games, spades, poker, stuff like that. I forget how to play Uno, to be honest. Like, I haven't played Uno since I was like 8.
No.
Just card games like
man.
that, I don't play them much. So I wasn't going to be into a trading battle card game, even if I was the right age range.
Okay. How have you, like, this is a side note to this. Don't really care. We're going to ask anyway. Like, how have you, like, today is the 25th anniversary of Pokemon. Like, does that blow your mind as somebody who, like, you're in so many geek cultures and so many people around you like it? Have you thought it wouldn't make this far? Or are you like, no, it makes sense. I just wasn't at the age where it would have appealed to me.
Yeah, it made sense. I understood why it caught on. I got the craze. I saw it. And plus, there were crazes that were stupid that caught on for a little bit. So I wasn't shocked that Pokemon had, the longevity it's had. Remember, I'm an 80s kid. So for me, my Pokemon to a smaller degree is Transformers. That was the anime that I got into. I was collecting, all the different Transformers that my parents would let me buy, like that, and that's still going strong. Almost 40 years later. So I got it. I was just the wrong age for it.
Okay, all right, good to know. Mark, your turn. You go.
Here's my crazy question of the day. Beware how spicy this is.
Bring it on.
What is one food that you've never put nacho cheese on that you would love to put nacho cheese on?
Just one? Because there's a lot of foods I would put nacho cheese on.
If you had to have your top one, what's your number one food that you've never put nacho cheese on that you need to try with nacho cheese?
Okay, well, like I said earlier, I'm fat. So there's a lot of things I've put nacho cheese on that most people probably wouldn't have. Oh, man. I know what I need to put nacho cheese on. I need to put nacho cheese on a grilled cheese and bacon sandwich.
Oh my gosh.
Just have a cup of it and dip it in there. That would be perfect.
Heck yeah.
Nacho cheese is, to me, a little bit overrated in regards to, like, the cheeses. I understand the appeal to it, but, like, there are very few times that I personally go, I need to put nacho cheese on this, except for nachos.
Except for if you had like an unlimited source of nacho cheese, then your whole attitude would change.
Well, sure. If I had an unlimited supply of anything, I probably would think of things differently. But that's not the reality for me as a person.
Yeah.
All right, Matt. I needed to ask you a basketball question because when I went on your show, I as we were talking pre-show, I went to school. You gave me a lot of good things to think on. So my question is, you are tasked with creating a big three for your favorite franchise. We'll call you a GM.
Okay.
Money is no option.
Okay.
Who are the big three that you're building with today's players? You cannot include the following 5 players. You cannot include LeBron, Giannis, Durant, AD, or James Harden. Who do you take and why to win? They will be out there. Those 5 will be in the league, though.
5 players, no Bron, no Giannis, no AD. Well, hold on, I got to write this down. No Bron, no Giannis, no
LeBron,
AD.
No Giannis, no Durant, no Davis, no Harden.
Oh, I'm not taking James Harden anyway.
I thought you were going to say that about James Harden, but I was like, I'm still going to write him just because he's an elite scorer.
And it was you could pick 3 players.
He has to build a team, a big 3. Money's no option. Trading is no option. He can. Yep. It's whoever he wants except for those 5.
Okay. Yeah, well, Harden. I mean, I'm old school. I need somebody to actually play defense, and James Harden ain't playing no defense, so he wouldn't be on my team to begin with. No Giannis, no KD, no AD. Oh, 3 players. Okay. Kawhi Leonard. He would definitely be on my team. And give me Dame Lillard. He's going to run the point for me. And I need a body to deal with Giannis and them. And I'm going to take Joel Embiid.
That's kind of what I thought. I thought you'd take Embiid for sure.
And my only thing about Embiid is he always gets hurt. But if Joel Embiid's healthy, he's the best big man in the game. So, yeah. Dame is running the point for me. Kawhi Leonard is on the perimeter for me. And Joel Embiid is dominating the block.
Right. That makes sense.
And you give me a couple role players. And, you give me you give me Jared Allen as my power forward and Klay Thompson as my shooting guard, and I'm destroying every team out there.
Fair. With Kawhi, it's tricky too, because I think last year kind of proved he's not as good to me as people think. Because I think Toronto just has a very deep team, and
they had a fantastic bench. Yeah,
Right.
Kawhi to me is a new Scottie Pippen. So he's not like this was. I mean, winning for Toronto, he was the lead guy, but they were super deep. But he's not. He doesn't have the mentality. He doesn't have that vocal type of leadership to really drive teams towards a lot of championships. He's not built that way. So
yeah, it's fascinating when you watch like the Michael Jordan documentary, and even after Kobe's
well, not even
passed,
just Mike, like anybody from that era, Magic, Mike,
the bad boys,
Isaiah
your
Thomas.
squad,
Yeah,
those are your guys.
Those guys are they're going to shoot their mama if it means they're going to win. Like, so Larry Bird, like those guys were killers. Kawhi, he's not that dude. Dame Lillard is that dude. Dame Lillard has an old school mentality. So
Yes.
Dame Lillard would be my vocal leader. He will be the leader on the court. And I believe in point guards generally being the better leaders. So that's why I picked Dame, and he can do it all. And Kawhi can take the back seat and do what he does and be, in the shadows where he likes to be. He doesn't have to say anything, just do his job. And Embiid's going to do his thing because
I think Embiid, you're kind of stuck with him given the circumstance and the question I gave you. But
I know. I mean, there's other players if I wanted to go, all perimeter, but
you wouldn't go Cat, would you? You wouldn't go Cat?
See, Cat was the first person I thought of, but my problem with Cat is he ain't got enough heart. Cat has all the physical abilities, but he ain't got the heart.
Yeah, our Minnesota audience is grieving right now listening to you.
Hey, I don't know why the Wolves ain't better. That's
because they got cursed when they traded KG. Glenn Taylor cursed all of Minnesota sports.
Glenn Taylor's the worst owner in all of sports. That's
well, you
why.
can't blame Glenn Taylor for Kevin McHale giving his Kevin. The problem is when you hire an ex-Celtic, there doesn't matter who's signing their paycheck. Their loyalty is to the Celtics. And when that trade happened, I said, "Who let this happen? How did they not veto this?" One
Right.
Celtic teammate gives Kevin Garnett to his other Celtic teammate. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, that trade never should have been allowed.
Not only that, I think isn't it the draft? Correct me if I'm wrong. Where they picked Rubio and then what was the Syracuse point guard they picked?
Johnny Flynn.
Johnny Flynn and Steph Curry was in that draft, right?
Yes, they picked Rubio and Johnny Flynn over Steph Curry.
And let's be fair. They could have taken Steph Curry, and he wouldn't have developed into the player he is with the Wolves. He would have spent 2 or 3 years and left Minnesota.
I agree. I'm just saying it's just like
like Ray
that. That is like to me the craziest concept that happened. But if you're listening to the show, you didn't come for the sports takes, but we're gonna get him when you get Jeek Nation on the podcast. You can't help it. That's how it is. So
That's right.
Matt, you have gone through the Infinity Gauntlet. So as Isaac would say, you are now a extended member of the Infinity Bros universe. So consider Jeek Nation an extension of the Infinity Bros podcast. Seriously, before we dive into WandaVision, I was telling Matt pre-show, and he's not telling me to say this. I'm saying this. It is criminal how few people follow these guys on Twitter, and I don't know how many subscribers they have, but you need to subscribe to this podcast. It's fantastic what these guys are doing. Jeek Nation, check out this podcast. If you love sports, this is exactly where you need to be. If you are a Christian, I know we got a lot of Christians that listen to our show, this is the place for you. It's the perfect center point of Christianity, geek, nerd culture, and sports. There's nothing like it. So check it out. Make sure you follow these guys. And Matt, thanks for taking that on the chin, man. That was awesome.
And as the Infinity Bros love to say, all things balanced, Jeek Nation, the original Jeek podcast, is where there is perfect balance between jock and geek.
It is is perfectly balanced as all things should be. So check it out. Seriously, go check it out. Selfless plug. We'll plug it on the back end too, but I wanted to make sure for those that are listening to WandaVision that they caught that. But let's not bury the lead. You're here for one reason, probably as a listener. At least it's the main reason I'm noticing.
It's the main reason.
It probably is. It's WandaVision episode 8. You are here to find out our thoughts. You're here to digest more information. And as pretty much this whole show has gone, I think, for all of the internet, you're just trying to hear more perspectives and try to get your mind around what this show is doing. So before we get into that, we want to make sure that you're familiar with our rating system and how we rate things around here. So I'm going to put that bumper right here.
Here on the Infinity Bros podcast, everything is ranked from a 0 to 6 point scale. 0 meaning horrible, and 6 meaning absolutely excellent. If all of the Infinity Bros rank something a 6, it gets an Infinity Step.
This is also your last chance. We will spoil everything. We're not going to hold anything back. We're going to spoil everything that came. We're going to talk about a couple rumors that are coming up in regards, to length and a couple other details. So this is your spoiler warning as well.
This is
Prepare yourself.
an Infinity Bros
Prepare yourself.
spoiler warning.
All right, we're going to start with you, Matt, because I know Mark is going to be long-winded, so I want to make sure that you get some stuff to say. Mark, just prepare your notes, get the binders ready.
I'm worried that he might say the thing I talked about you before pre-show, and I want to be the first one to say it almost. But it doesn't matter. No, Matt goes because like I told you, what I told you is I would love for someone to say the same idea that I had, because that also would be exhilarating too. So that's why I want it, because I get giddy. I'm just like, that's what I am.
Let's do this. Matt, here's what I want. I just want people to understand our context first.
Of
So
course.
I'll start. I'll up to this point of the season, I would give this show as a whole, the whole season, a 5.9 out of 6.
Oh, it went up.
Well, it did, and I'm sticking to the length of the show is still a problem for me. I think these episodes are still too short. I'm very concerned, and I'll talk about this later about
Max
next
wanted
week's
them
episode.
to make a movie for every episode. He wanted each one an hour and a half long.
I've listened to every WandaVision episode that you have done, and I applaud you, Max, for sticking to your guns. And I agree with you that these episodes could be, like you said, and you've been consistent, at least 5 minutes longer. It doesn't have to be 10, 20 minutes longer. Just 5 more minutes, one more scene to flush out a little bit more. I completely agree with you. So you stick by it.
I totally get if you're like somebody that's like, this is the hardest of 6s. I get it. It's a great show. I'm not necessarily fighting content on that. I would give this episode a 6 out of 6. This is, to me, the best episode of the season. This has, to me, a top 10 scene of all time. We'll talk about that in all of the MCU, in my opinion. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. So that's my broad strokes thoughts on the season in this episode. So, Matt, share those with us, and then we'll go to Mark.
Familiar with your rating, I'm going to give it a 6 out of 6 because I'm guessing I don't want to be my usual, I'll say my nitpicky self for the original Jeek podcast. This episode is not perfect, but it definitely warrants a 6 out of 6. I'll say that I missed seeing Monica, Vision, and Darcy throughout this episode, but regardless of that, it was fantastic. Nothing short of fantastic. And I don't want to say too much because I want Mark to get his piece out there. So,
I do too. Mark's been really adamant about talking about this thing that he's been talking about. So I want to let him have his moment. So Mark. So before everybody talks, give us your ratings, then dive into. You can go a little broader on it.
Yeah, 6 out of 6. I think it might be one of their best episodes of the season. That's my opinion. And I think the scene that Max might be talking about is the intimate scene with Vision and Wanda in the flashback, which I feel like if that's not the reason why Elizabeth Olsen doesn't win an Emmy for that, that's just damning to the organization that gives out Emmys. With that said, all right, here is my wild take.
We're just diving in. I love it.
I don't even care. You're here for the wild takes, and I'm giving it to you right now.
I'm strapped in. Here we go.
Second rewatch, watching it with my beautiful wife Kelly. There's a scene where it's the first flashback where she's a little girl. She's 10. We know that she's born in 1989. We know her parents died when she's 10. So we're assuming she's 10. It's 1999, right? You all following me with me so far?
Yep.
Dad opens the briefcase with the DVDs box sets.
Right.
Right? 1999. In the box set is Malcolm in the Middle DVD. That series doesn't debut until 2000.
Yep.
The DVD box set doesn't debut until 2002. Wanda Maximoff's father is a time traveler.
That is off the walls. I do not buy
And
that
I looked
in
it
the
up. I
slightest.
looked it up. I have it right here.
I believe
Region
you.
1, first season, doesn't even come out until October 29th, 2002.
I think the timeline is fuzzy.
It is not fuzzy.
I think it's fuzzy in that regard.
Whoever that person is, who might not even be her real father.
Oh, we know it shouldn't be her real father.
Exactly. That dude stole those kids from a different reality because we are led into this thing that she already had these powers. I'm now saying that the Maximoff twins are not from this universe.
That is a much different theory than what I thought you were saying.
And the big drop that's going to happen episode 9, Magneto shows up.
I would love that.
Whether Paul Bettany meant an actor that he's wanted to act with since he was a little kid, you gotta think someone that's older than him, unless he was referring to himself. There's that twist I've seen. It's Ian McKellen. Ian McKellen shows up as Magneto.
I think the timeline might just be a smidge bit fuzzy, and I think they're going to talk their way out of it. However, I do believe there could be credence.
You're going to tell me they're going to be like, hey, her father, or father in quotations, had this fast-tracked on the Malcolm in the Middle DVD box set?
Oh, now, it's Sokovia, so maybe he just created his own bootleg version
Of a show that doesn't even exist yet in their timeline?
Yeah, but it's off by like 2 years.
But do we know she's 10?
Yes, because that's what Jimmy Woo says is Wanda born in 1989.
Oh, that's right, when
died
the parents died. Yes, right. Yeah.
Yeah, when she was 10. So we're at least as an audience told that it's 1999 during this scene.
Here's what I think. I think that the Malcolm in the Middle DVD was in there just to communicate to the audience, this is why we've been doing this show this way. I think, and kind of like how we fill dreams with random gobbledygook.
However, Max, I gotta
Yeah.
say this before you go to that. Then why have us show us that she's watching it in a different scene of Malcolm in the Middle?
Because
Like, why
that would
couldn't
have
that just
been
been a
more.
thing?
That would have been more up to the timeline of what
But she
you're talking
would,
about.
if that's a new box of DVDs, would have never watched it because it got blown up.
Yeah, for sure. I think those were separate DVDs she went and bought.
No, I understand that part, but I'm just saying, like,
You think Avengers Mansion can't afford, to stream anything?
Well, apparently they complain about coffee grounds in the sink.
Yeah.
So
That's true.
yeah.
all right. So that's my wild take that I was giddy to get off my chest.
I mean, Mark, I don't think that's it, but honestly, Mark, even if that's not it, I think there could be credence to like she's not from this universe. I absolutely think that could be a real thing. I don't think that's crazy, given everything we've learned about her. But
And she said she was gonna, or the dad said he was gonna sell them tomorrow. So like, who's gonna buy a Malcolm in the Middle box set of a show that's maybe not even airing in Sokovia?
to use your logic, I would ask you: are you from Sokovia? Do you know how Sokovian culture works?
Yes.
No, you're not from Sokovia. You don't know that. Sokovia's a
You don't know that. Well, everything's made up.
It's the poor man's Latveria, and everybody knows that. Let's break this down by characters. Fortunately, in this episode, there's this it's an Agatha Wanda heavy episode.
Yes.
I think we get a lot of information in this though, and I think a couple of things really floor me, and we'll talk about those as we go. But I really want to start with Agatha. Were you more surprised, Matt, that Agatha is basically from the late 1600s, so she's hundreds of years old, or were you more surprised to find out that she knew very little about what was going on in this world of WandaVision?
Being the comic, especially Marvel nerd that I am, none of that actually surprised me. The only surprise was that Marvel actually stuck to a very comic book origin. I knew from the comics that she was from Salem. So them showing that, I was like, hey, okay, cool. And then they went about with the fact that she was pretty much there to learn. She was analyzing. Like, the whole thing was her learning. And if you're a comic reader, if or if you probably know, but you may not know if you're not a comic reader, that in the comics, Agatha Harkness teaches real magic compared to the mutant power magic that that Wanda is born with. She teaches Wanda real magic in the comics. So, and that's why she was showing her these basic spells and was like, "How are you doing this when you don't even know about runes and you don't know anything? But how are you doing this? You haven't, And you could shout out to what's her last name? Catherine. What's her last name?
Catherine Hahn.
Hahn. Shout out to Catherine Hahn for portraying beautifully the frustration of when you're good at something. Like I experienced this in basketball because I was not naturally built for basketball. I got good because I worked hard. But when you come across those players who just walk out of bed and can do things that took you hours and hours and hours of practice to be good at, you want to grab them and be like, you just want to shake them because it infuriates you. And that was what she portrayed. Catherine Hahn portrayed that frustration perfectly. Like, I've spent years, and for her hundreds of years, learning how to do these spells and do different magic, and you're just a prodigy and you can far surpass me. She did an amazing job in portraying that frustration when she's explaining to Wanda, what she was doing and just going over the whole spiel of magic there. It was amazing.
What I really have appreciated about this show, Matt, sorry for cutting you off, man.
No, it's good.
What I've really appreciated about this show, and Mark, you've alluded to this too. Mark, you're saying, I think Elizabeth Olsen's crushing it in this show. And she is. Matt, you're saying, I think Catherine Hahn's crushing it in this show.
Everyone's crushing it in this show.
And she is. And I was just going to say, for me, and we'll talk about him later, but Paul Bettany, this is the best Paul Bettany we've gotten in the MCU, in my opinion.
I hate to go back to episode 1, but I'm a huge, Dick Van Dyke is one of my favorite shows of all time. When I watched that, and probably unless they were big fans of the show like me, they didn't notice it, but Paul Bettany nailed Dick Van Dyke in that episode. From the facial expressions, the way he leaned, the way and Olsen did a pretty good version of her as Mary Tyler Moore, but Bettany killed it. It was amazing. I am floored to this day on how well he mimicked Dick Van Dyke in that episode. He has been outstanding.
I know for the last couple of weeks, one thing that's been going around with us, and I know with you too, has been Agatha is a air quotes good guy. Matt, you kind of alluded to this too, of she's not going to say bad. She's just, hundreds of years old trying to figure things out. Do you think this episode, Mark, pushed you towards, okay, she's not necessarily the villain of this show like we kind of were sold last episode with the Agatha All Along soundtrack? Or are you still under the impression that she is working for a higher entity? That's where this absorbing power comes from. Even though at the beginning she kind of says I can be good, and her mom still tries to kill her. Where are you at with this character right now, Mark?
Well, I mean, the character in the comic book struggles from being bad and good, whether she's controlling it or not. I think I break it down like this. I have no idea what the blue magic represents. I don't know what that's tied to. I've been shown in the MCU that purple magic means the Dark Realm or Dormammu. Yellow magic is wizards, and that's what's going around the book. And now red magic apparently is chaos, whatever that's tied to. Going back to last episode when Zane brought up what was it called? The Darkhold?
No, the Necronomicon.
I believe he also talked about the Darkhold as well.
You and I talked about it because it's connected more with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Okay, anyways. Just tied with that and that book that she probably stole from the Ancient One or from the library. If you notice, because I rewatched Doctor Strange and there's a book missing with the ones that have the hexagons around them. I don't know. So, to answer your question, with all that information I've dropped and, taken in myself, it's kind of hard at this point to tell. And it's I can speculate. Yeah, she's probably curious and wondering, well, hey, can I teach or learn from this person? Or why is she afraid of her at the end of the show? Because it definitely seems like she knows that Wanda is more powerful than her.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see if this last episode still has a bigger boss layout, unless, you know, the final episode is going to be the Vision v Vision. I'll probably name the episode Double Vision, but, you know, whatever.
Something like that. No, I was struck by, I really was struck with that opening scene. I know there had been rumors on Reddit that there was going to be a Salem witch scene.
One more thing to add on to that, where I think she might be working with someone. Her mom indicates that she's been going like above, like with I forget the word that she uses. I don't know if she uses like dark magic or.
She said dark magic. She said you've been using dark magic and using magic above her age and station.
Yes, okay, that's what she said. And I forget, because Kelly pointed this out for me. I think there were like dead animals around her, I think, or what was it with dark dead? Like, oh yeah, she was tying it to like Sparky being dead, where she uses blood magic, and blood magic ties to, you know, if you want to go just straight like what you think blood magic is, to demonic, which may lead to back to Mephisto again.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Or Nightmare, and then to really go into the weeds, you break down the music theory of the song, and the WandaVision song uses the tritone, which is the devil's interval. There you go, people. I have went into the weeds for you in episode 8. Mephisto's back in the game. I think he never left the table. He might have went to the corner. You almost pushed him off, but that sucker is still here. Even if it happens to be Nightmare or nobody, they went above and beyond to make us talk about this stuff beyond the time of these episodes.
I know I've talked about this every single week, and I'll say it again. It's like having 6 seasons of Lost in 9 episodes. It's been remarkable. They have done such a good, like, the attention. And I think this is why, Mark, to get back to your theory at the beginning, I don't believe that that's it. I think that was just Wanda putting that in there to say, yeah, this is why, these are the sitcoms I loved. I'm just putting it in this moment as a dream. I really, really think the attention to detail on this show is so impeccable that just doesn't seem like a quality reason to me.
Sure. And that's what, again, talking with my beautiful friend Kelly, is these are probably just a bunch of red herrings, so then we do talk about all this stuff, and once every episode's out and we watch and be like, oh man, it was just pretty much in our face the whole time, and nothing too big or crazy really went on.
Yeah, well, but, I mean, and it's tough too when you have Loki down the pike, right? Like, I mean, in the Loki trailer, we saw a picture of the devil on the windowsill. Like, I just think they're messing with us. They know that. Matt, what'd you think of Catherine Hahn's jokes in this, man? Like,
I love how she can bounce back and forth from being super serious, a clear threat. Like, those first 5 minutes tell us she's a huge threat to Wanda. But then also, I just love how she's talking about, she's mocking her accent. She still kind of stays in sitcom mode. She pries, but she's also an ally, it feels like. How'd you feel about that part of her performance with Catherine Hahn?
I think, like I said, she's killing it. And Catherine Hahn has... I'll use a wrestling term. There is baby faces and there are heels. And Catherine Hahn, as Agatha Harkness, she is a tweener. She can work face and she can work heel. And the character in the comics is also like that, because no, she's not a good guy, but she raised Franklin Richards, and she has been helpful to heroes. She was helpful to Wanda. In some certain circumstances, she wasn't so helpful to the heroes because she has her own agenda. And I think that they are portraying her amazingly. They wrote for her amazingly, and Catherine Hahn is just, hitting it out the park with showing that dichotomy that she has her own agenda. She may or may not be working for Mephisto or Nightmare. We don't know. And I personally hope, even though I was hoping for it, I'm hoping that it's not, just so that I could imagine the Disney execs laughing that, like, hey, we got him to talk about Mephisto this entire time, and he's not there. That would just be a great punchline. But
suckers.
Yeah, like, I gotcha. She's done an amazing job, and I think it's true to the character, and that Agatha Harkness has her own agenda. But I believe that her agenda will help bridge into the multiverse of madness and expose so much of what is going on underneath the surface. So, if I'm jumping too far ahead, chastise me. But
no, you're not. You're not. I think that's a fair point, and it gets to the feedback I have about this show is. You're telling me you're going to close all this up in 50 minutes? Because that's the rumored time for episode 9 right now is 50 minutes. Well, how much of that is credits, right? I mean, I don't know. I'm with you on that. I do think they have the luxury of, all right, we'll finish Wanda's part here in the next movie.
So let's analyze the real reruns, which was also fantastic that they went that route of mocking her with the reruns. So she's in Sokovia. The family gets blown up, and we see the Stark bomb that's flashing. And the lighting, the red's flashing on her face, but Pietro's face stays blue. Beautiful. You see her reach out. Agatha pulls her back out of the memory, and it's like, "Did you stop the bomb?" And she's like, "No," but she's like. And she says it, you used a probability hex. And it establishes that Wanda had powers beforehand. And like every other mutant, your powers don't kick in until something traumatic really happens. And that's where it kicked in. Because then later on, when she is at the Hydra outpost and she's about to go to the Infinity Stone, and when Agnes pulls her out of that one, she's like, okay, so exposure to the stone amplified something that would have likely died on the vine.
This is like mind blowing. You're kind of going
time traveling father.
Mark's gonna die on this hill that Oleg is a time traveler.
Dude, I saw this today. I literally got back from the farm. We got Taco John's. We watched the episode, and I saw the Malcolm in the Middle box. I'm like, hold on for a second. Like, just a TikTok where it's just like, new secret part 5. Like that, like whole thing just like went over. I'm sorry. Yes. Mutants exist. Maybe not in this universe, but they're being pulled from somewhere.
Does this make Wanda essentially the most powerful person in the universe? I know the Eternals are coming down the pike, and I know Galactus is probably out there, and certain characters are still out there. But she almost killed Thanos, and this really is like showing to me that, Kevin Feige's like touted it, but now they're showing it to us. You know what I mean? We saw it for like a minute in Endgame, but we haven't seen it up to this point.
Agatha like double downs on that, where it's just like you have powers that were myth, and like you said, it's like they shoved it into your face, where it's just like, yep, she's super powerful. She's probably the most powerful person you've seen on screen so far.
One of the side notes I wanted to make was when she was sitting in the Hydra facility, she was watching the Brady Bunch, and it's the episode where Cindy has the doll.
Yes.
That is the same doll from episode 3 that Vision was changing at the table when they were preparing for kids.
Yes.
Blew my mind. I was like, and again, that goes back to the attention to detail.
Yeah,
here.
the attention to detail that they've taken is fantastic.
Remarkable.
And it's so similar, yet different. Like the Dick Van Dyke living room was very similar but different. The Brady Bunch living room, very similar but different. And like they had me racking my brain on the Family Ties. It's like, this looks like Family Ties, but it could be Growing Pains because they both had similar intros. And I'm like, but this feels more Family Ties. Like they did so good with that.
A lot of people felt like the 80s one was kind of its weakest one, to be honest.
Really?
That kind of, I heard that from some podcasts. I was like, really? I was like, the people I was listening to, Pop Culture Leftovers of the podcast I was listening to, they thought that was just a weaker aesthetic, and I was like, okay, whatever. I don't see it.
And that's episode 4, right?
Yes.
Because I feel like what I've seen like on your on a pedestal Rotten Tomatoes is the episode 3 is the lowest one. So I just find that,
I don't know.
Like on a rating standpoint, unless stuff's changed. Like the last time I looked at Rotten Tomatoes weeks ago. So
let's keep going through this. So Civil War, let's talk about this scene. I talked about this at the top of the show. This scene with Vision solidifies to me in a universe that has a lot of great love stories, it's going to be very difficult for people after this season to tell me that Wanda and Vision aren't the best love story in the show, in this series. You know, MCU experiment. Unbelievable writing. I thought it handled everything really well. I thought Malcolm in the Middle was, I didn't really, to be honest with you guys, I didn't get Malcolm in the Middle being included in all these. I loved Malcolm in the Middle growing up, but I wouldn't consider it like one of the most elite sitcoms of that decade. I really feel like this scene would not have done well without that scene from Hal breaking that porch. But more importantly, and as I said, this is such a great portrayal of grief. We knew we were going down this track emotionally. I don't think we fully knew how they would show it to us, but it was so subtle and much simpler than I thought it would be presented to us. And I really, really appreciated this scene. Matt, what'd you think of this scene?
This scene was amazing, and I'll explain why. One, every other episode, I understood the television reference until this one and the one before with Malcolm in the Middle, because I have never seen an episode of Malcolm in the Middle. Like Mark said, it came out in the late 90s. And
no, 2000.
I'm sorry, 2000.
Not the late 90s, because that would go against my theory.
You're right. It came out in 2000. You know,
the DVD box set came out in 2002.
You know, I was
in Region 1. So that's like United States and Europe.
I wasn't watching. I wasn't. I was graduating high school, starting college. Like I wasn't watching Malcolm in the Middle.
You were adulting.
Yeah, I was adulting. I was adulting earlier, but so for me, having zero frame of reference with the show, I am proud of myself that I did guess by the other episode's intro that it was Malcolm in the Middle, and I actually, not having any frame of reference for the show, just knowing the very little I know about it, I understand why they went with Malcolm in the Middle and not other sitcoms. Because one, your family sitcoms, you didn't have that many core family unit sitcoms that were going on during that time frame. Your biggest sitcom at that time was Friends. And the only one that was really centered around a family unit that was very popular was Malcolm in the Middle. And you didn't have a family-centric sitcom that was really super popular, again, until Modern Family, really. So you're coming off the 80s and 90s where you had a cusp of great family-centered shows like The Cosby Show and, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and Roseanne and other family unit-based shows. Malcolm in the Middle came around a time where there weren't that many. So it makes sense to use that show. And it's really special for me not having a frame of reference because it actually spoke to me really well in how they used this scene and how they used the joy out of seeing the pain and how they related it to their conversation. And me not having a nostalgic reference to pull from allowed me to really take that in, with a certain freshness without having, to have it ruined by any familiarity. So this scene really jumped out to me because unlike the other scenes where I had to rewatch them because I was still bathing in nostalgia, I was able to really take in what the dialogue and the emotions that were being portrayed were trying to get across.
Mark, aside from your time travel theory and Malcolm in the Middle, I know you have
a reality jumping theory.
Your reality jumping theory there, we'll call it that. What did you think of this scene with Paul Bettany and Elizabeth Olsen?
I thought it was great. I think I mentioned it in the beginning. I thought this is the scene that they play when they are announcing her as a nominee for Best Actress in a drama or sitcom, whatever they want to call it. And then, announce her as the winner and hand her the award. This is the scene they play. And
him, too. They replay the same scene.
I agree. I look at this as more Bettany than Olsen, but I think there's a very fair point to say that I think it's fair to say she's carrying it. This is her show. And I think that's fair. We go to the sword facility right after that. I also love the transitions. I know it's subtle, but I thought the door transitions were great. How they made all the doors look different. I thought that was just...
It was a great way to go from place and time without having to make it more convoluted.
Was not jarring at all. It was
Yeah.
very smooth, and I think that was an interesting task they had to do with the different scenes they had to do. Hayward was lying the whole time. This is another big concept. We'll talk about this with Vision later, but Hayward lies about everything. He lies about how she stormed in. He lies about how she took things. She had zero intent of taking anything, and I think us as the audience kind of knew that she wouldn't be that aggressive when she got in there. We knew that there was something else to the story, but I did not anticipate her just breaking a window and crying and then walking out the door to get in her car. How did you respond to this, Matt? How did you like this reveal? Did this leave you with more questions? Are you pretty floored that Wanda essentially walked into Sword peacefully, broke a large window because the Hayward is essentially... He was antagonizing her into it. I couldn't believe it.
They pulled the okie doke on a lot of people. And I think they did a great job with it because they showed the video to Wu and Darcy of her breaking in, and I think to Monica too, of her breaking in and stealing, quote unquote, stealing Vision's body. And then they follow that scene up with her storming out of Westview holding the drone that they tried to shoot her with.
Yeah.
So they really set the table of, yeah, Wanda's pissed off and she's here to wreck stuff. And then we see this scene where she starts off, she's got an attitude. She's not happy. She's halfway storming into Sword, but not fully. And she's demanding. She's distraught. And when I saw that, I was like, okay, yeah, she definitely did not just steal his body. But then they try to get me again with her just using her powers to blast open the door. Hayward lying does not surprise me because he's a Fed. So,
Gosh, you and Mark are cut from the same cloth.
I mean, if there is a consistent trope in film and television, is that the Feds are lying.
Little real world too.
Yes, exactly. So he's a Fed. I don't expect anything. In this universe, you can't believe anything you see on film either. You can't believe a video. They can make anything. So that was not a surprise. The biggest surprise, honestly, to me, was that she got in a Buick and drove away. I was like, where'd this Buick come from? I was like,
it was a smooth ride.
Yeah,
it was a great commercial.
Where did she, did Enterprise pick her up? Like, where did she
Someone's got to pay the bills, Matt. Someone's got to pay the bills. Okay.
I got a comment, like, once we get to the next part, like, that happens after this, we have to bring this back up because I got questions.
I got some details there.
So that was the surprise for me, was the Buick.
Mark, were you surprised to find out that she did not take Vision's body with her when she got into the Buick?
Not surprised. What I definitely focused on was Hayward, and Matt brought this up. Hayward and yourself brought his like attitude. It's like he kind of expected her to show up at some point.
Yes.
And like, to put this in the timeline, it's 3 weeks after, or 3 weeks in a day, when Monica goes back to Sword. She goes here, a day goes by, she gets shot out, so it's been 3 weeks in a day. She said, or Hayward said, it was when they showed her the video 9 days ago, she broke in. So that means 10 days go by from her being snapped back to go into Sword. So she had to find out who had Vision's body, because obviously Vision's body still wasn't in Wakanda. So someone had, in 5 years, swooped up Vision's body, brought him the sword. If that's the clean route, that's what happened. We don't know if he bounced around before he got the sword.
Like, the only way, this is a great side note you bring up, the only way that's getting out of Wakanda is if the Avengers bring it out. So how did they get it from the Avengers is a very, like, I think that warrants an answer. I want to know how they got it.
I think because of the Sokovian Accords, I think somehow they had
legally have to give it back.
Yeah, legally claims over his body.
I just would have loved to hear the Wakandan dialogue between America on that.
But Wakanda would have been without their king.
No, I think Wakanda let the Avengers leave with the bodies. So go bury your dead comrade. Like that's to me what that like.
But then Sword swoops in, and Captain America's like, okay, fine, just take him, whatever.
I want to say this real quick, Mark. This is my crazy theory on this whole series so far. I think Hayward is not only a Skrull. I think he's a bad Skrull, and I think this is the first pillar of Secret Invasion. I think he's trying to really get Wanda to go bananas because she's the biggest threat in the Avengers.
And I think, we learned something down the road, but I'm not going to bring that up yet. I think the reason why she waited so long, I bet his body was set up, but he's like, hey, I want to get people in there to like grind on him to kind of get the juices flowing to see if she does anything.
I'd be willing to put some money on that he's a Skrull right now. I'd be willing to put some money.
I would agree with that because they did Fury as the Skrull in the comics, and they also kind of try to pull an okey doke with bad Nick Fury before. So I don't think they're gonna go visit that well again. And you need another Fed, big time, in charge of a big organization to pull that with, and no better than Sword.
Also, too, I think anybody that knew Rambo's mom would not treat her the way that she's been treated in this series. I think the way he's treated her is a big sign that that's not him.
But people have been saying online, this is one thing where like this would be the argument against this, to play devil's advocate here, or Mephisto's advocate, is he survived. He did not get snapped away. So he has had to live with 5 years in anxiety. Kind of if you go down the Iron Man route when he created Ultron, like to, have another armor around the world. So that's why he wants to build up Ultron, and maybe he's had 5 years to try to rebuild Vision, and nothing's worked. And he has this idea that, hey, I need her powers probably to reassemble him. So he was probably hoping. And jumping back to that, how did he know that she had the power to bring people back from the dead? There's nothing that why would he know that? And there's nothing that we've seen that would make us believe that.
She's the biggest threat on the board, I think, right now. I think she's the
hang
biggest
on, you're
threat
missing.
on the board.
You're missing the point I said though. How does he know that she could bring people back from the dead when she doesn't know that?
You're going in a little more of the magic and demonic route.
He said that. Hayward said that to her. Am I wrong?
Yeah, he implied it. He tried to get her to get him back, to get him going online.
Well, I don't think he knew. I think he recognized the connection between the two of them, and the power of their relationship. How it emboldened and strengthened both of them. I think Agatha was the one who really understood the possibility that Wanda could bring back, quote unquote, bring back the dead, and we really still don't know if that's even really what happened, because that's still an unanswered question. Because even though she called him fake Pietro or Fietro, I feel that's an okey doke that they're trying to throw at us and try to be like, oh, forget about him. Because one, you don't bring Evan Peters in for no reason, just for him to be fake, and then you don't throw him in that end credit scene for episode 7, and where it doesn't look like he's being controlled when he sneaks up on Monica. So
we are on the same page on this.
I don't think that I don't think Hayward knew that. I think he was just putting the two and two together and not really seeing what 4 was, but trying to
I think these are
out.
just two different storylines that are competing at the moment, and that's going to branch out. But I get the thinking. We got to move on a little more though. I mean, the Westview scene, we see essentially all the main characters. We don't see Dottie, Mark.
You do not.
We do not see Dottie. I thought that was interesting and convenient. We learned that the heart on the calendar in episode 1 represents the deed that Vision left Wanda, which I thought was an amazing detail.
Let's back up to this. This is to the Buick thing. Where and how did Vision get money to buy this house? Does Vision get paid somehow?
Well, I'd imagine with the Avengers he would.
What's
like he's
like why?
Like who's gonna? Why would you pay an android?
Does Vision have a social security
What's
number?
he gonna buy?
Does he have credit? Because he can't buy a house as an underwriter. there's no way if he doesn't have a credit score,
Yeah.
a
Vision
social
has
security
1,000
number,
credit
or a
score.
source of
Yeah,
income.
these are the hard
he
hitting
will
questions
not
that you're asking right now.
be getting that house.
Yeah, that's
And
a good point,
same
Mark.
with probably
Mark,
same
thank
with
you.
with Wanda as a person who's not a U.S. citizen and technically a criminal, wouldn't get a loan for this either. So someone had to buy this deed for them.
However, it could easily happen if Vision, talked to Tony and was like, "Hey, can you hook me up?" That's the only plausible way. But I like what you're thinking because he seemed to have done this very romantic gesture on his own. Found some small sleepy town in I don't know why New Jersey, but some small sleepy town in New Jersey, to have them build this house to grow old, or for her to grow old in, and have this happy little life. I was disappointed that Max did not get his reverse Simon Williams theory because I really thought I was going to see
for
it.
sure that would be it.
I thought she was going to walk into a house that was being sold by a family named Williams, and some man would have been there like, "Hey, can I show you the house?" And then she explodes with power, and it turns him into this Vision plaything. But I guess Wonder Woman 84 already took over a dude's body for a grieving woman's pleasure, and I don't think Marvel wanted to do that again.
I certainly don't feel like they gypped us at all. Like this series, I've never felt like, oh, the answer is not sufficient to me. Mark, I think you have a very great point. They didn't fully, you did not see a clip of Vision handing that to Wanda. I think you have a point, but I think that's for a later time. I agree, though, Matt. I wanted to see a reverse Simon Williams. That just felt like low-hanging fruit to me, but it is what it is.
A great way to bring Wonder Man eventually in anyway, so why not?
Wonder Man's going to show up, I think, still. I think they're going to find a way. That's an Avenger. Like, I just think he's going to be in it somehow.
He's a West Coast Avenger. Do they really count?
For sure. They're totally going that route down the line. Mark, go ahead before I close this, or before I go to a couple more things.
Okay, so like in this scene where she, gets to the house and she essentially creates the hex and creates the house. When she creates Vision, or her version of Vision, yellow comes out of her instead of red. And not like, yellow like or the yellow orange that, the wizards have or Doctor Strange has. Yellow as in the Mind Stone yellow. Is she able to pull from the atoms that still exist in the universe from the Mind Stone to create Vision? Is that what happened here? There's my question for that.
Well, I think that's answered. That was answered in the Hydra scene because she went to a piece of the Tesseract, but what they showed was yellow when she touched it and not blue. So there's something unanswered there because obviously we see her using her powers. It's red, and so there's something there with the yellow and the Mind Stone because the Soul Stone was orangish, right?
Yep.
Yeah, see, it would make more sense if it was the soul, like part of her soul created him. But I guess coming from her mind as well. But it's definitely Mind Stone related.
And then with that, we get the scene where he basically not in this episode, but previous episode or two episodes prior, where he starts falling apart
when he tried to leave. Yes.
Yep. So my theory then with this is this Vision cannot live outside of the hex.
No way.
So at this point, at least, because he was created in the hex.
I got a question about that in a bit that you can dive more into. So I like the wrap up questions because all these rabbit holes we go down. I feel like they cover them all. I try to cover the rabbit holes because people love this stuff. I would add too, Mark. To what you're just to add on what you're saying at the end. There's no doubt in my mind that we're getting either Avengers Disassembled or House of M or both. We're going to get one or both because this is the direction we're heading.
They should
That's
just
the direction
make it
we're heading
all.
with all this.
Just make it all of it.
But it's just it's going to be damning when it happens. So all this happens. Wanda finally gets back to air quotes reality, as much of reality we can call Westview, I guess, in this series. She runs out to the street. We see Agatha holding the boys, choking them, and we get her final costume. Rating of the costume real quick. I give it a 6. It looks great. Very canon to the comics.
Oh, Agatha?
Mark? Yeah.
Fantastic.
She looks great. 6 out of 6 for me. Mark?
6 out of 6. I thought the really nice touch were the black fingers, if you noticed that. And that she looked younger, too, I felt.
Oh, she looked older to me.
Really?
Yeah, she looked older when she went
She
out
gave
there.
that vibe from, like, the boys. What's her name? The one that you couldn't tell if she was 20 or 40.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever her name is. Which, like, that's how I kind of felt watching her this whole
uh-huh.
episode. It's like I guess we're supposed to believe, or obviously she's over 300 years old, but she looks like she could be 20, or she
man.
could be...
Oh, the
50, I
the
don't know.
Nazi from The Boys.
Yeah.
Yeah, she looks like she looks like she could be young, but then you look at her like, she could be 40.
And actually, she's almost 100. Or over 100.
We don't get Rainbow, Darcy, or Wu. We'll for sure see them next week, and we don't get Pietro. Let's go into the final questions here, and then we'll get into the rest of the show. Thanks for sticking with us, by the way, guys.
Oh, we're going to do the end credit scene?
Yes, I'll talk about that in just a second.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
I have a question about the end credit scene. So
Okay.
there was an end credit scene. White Vision shows up. All right, here we go. Questions for everybody here. Matt, who is Pietro? Is he from the X-Men universe, or is he from the MCU?
It would be idiotic, a colossal waste to bring in a face from the X-Men universe, especially since you own the property, to not use it for that purpose of bringing and introducing the mutants to the MCU. So I'm saying yes, because even though Disney likes to try and trick us and pull the okey doke, they're also not stupid. And they know this is a business and they're here to make money. And the way you make money is through mutants. Mutants make money. Mutants equal money. They always have, even though the movies from Fox to me are terrible and they're atrocities. They still made a ton of money. And the decent ones like Logan made a ridiculous amount of money. So you bring in mutants, I'll send you an episode that Unique DNA and I did where we've built our own phase 4, where we suggested that the next big thing should be A versus X.
Oh, that's coming for sure. That for sure is in the next decade, I think.
Mutants, they make money. And you can't tell some of the great Marvel stories without them.
Or without Wolverine. He's like the hottest X-Men out there.
I mean, he's with
Property-wise.
Batman, Superman, Spider-Man.
And physically.
He's up there. Like, he's on that list. Completely agree, Matt. I would echo everything you're saying. Mark, anything to add? Or subtract?
I guess to play Mephisto's advocate again, I'm all in on what Matt said, because I hope he is the X-Men version. But we get to kind of, go back to, are they pulling a red herring on this, or however you want to say it? We see Agatha turn that cicada into a bird. So she has the power to turn basically anything into another thing. So we don't know if the Pietro that we have seen, the X-Men version or the Fox version of Quicksilver, if that's really that Quicksilver. But the thing that I think solidifies for me that it has to be the Quicksilver from the Fox universe is, how could she recreate his super speed? I just feel like if you have that power, how are you not creating a legion of army if whatever your plan is?
There's no way she could create that, because why would she be asking Wanda how she created Westview and how she took years to learn how to turn a bug into a bird if she could raise a dead person or take over somebody and give them super speed?
Two-parter for Agatha. Who is Agatha working for? Is she working by herself? How is Agatha so powerful? She's very similar to Wanda, it appears. Answer those questions. Mark, we'll start with you.
I think she came to this on her own accord. I would believe, she came to Westview because she felt that presence, which also makes you think, how did Doctor Strange not feel this presence? Or maybe he did and something else is going on. He's
in Multiverse of Madness. I'm holding to that. That already started, I think.
Oh, okay. So
I think this is a symptom of that, personally.
I just because the purple magic, I'm going hard that she was saved by Dormammu, and Dormammu has Dormammu has given her some heightened ability, unlike what we saw in Doctor Strange, where she's not being consumed by him.
Well, it's exactly what Caecilius wanted in Doctor Strange, to live forever. What's happening? She's living forever.
But she apparently didn't make that choice, though. What we kind of got set up in the beginning of the show is she was chosen, or whatever magic she might have done that led her to be, burned on the pyre. But
Matt.
Oh man, I'm gonna say both. I'm gonna say that she's working for herself while being while working for, hopefully, Mephisto. I am hoping that Mephisto, even if it isn't seen, that is alluded to, that Mephisto is behind the scenes, and I'm hoping Mephisto is the big bad that Doctor Strange is going to be dealing with. So I'm hoping for a reveal that way, but I'm hoping that it's true to kind for Agatha, and that she's got her own agenda as well.
Who is Ralph?
I think Ralph is Mephisto, and that's why Ralph has been mentioned virtually every episode. I really believe Ralph is either Mephisto or Nightmare, and I'm hoping Mephisto.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say he's a part of the big bad, but maybe I'm wrong. This show's been crazy.
I mean, it's got to mean something, because this is one show that we've talked about the attention to detail. They don't waste dialogue.
Mm-mm.
And if
they
you're
can't.
saying something,
not with their timeline, they can't waste dialogue.
Right? Yeah.
They better not be. I'll tell you that, they better not be wasting dialogue.
and with that, I'm gonna say Ralph is Mephisto, because Ralph is another term, and I saw this too. It's another term for the devil. It's also a term for a wolf, and a wolf is also the form that the devil takes. So, another deep dive down the well, boys.
Who will win between Vision and White Vision? Second part of the question.
Neither.
Will either of them exist after the Hex? I think the White Vision, I think real Vision will win, and I think Vision will cease to be part of this universe. That's my opinion.
To set that up, so like the end credit scene is they're back with Hayward's facility. They're using the drone that they sent in that has apparently the red stuff, that's the magic that's still going around, use it to power up White Vision. And my question is, to just add on to this, does this White Vision know that he's Vision? The Avengers Vision that we know?
In the comics, he just becomes an android again, doesn't remember anything that happened before,
but he's just controlled. Okay. On that note, I think we're going to get a double Vision fight, and I think neither of them survive, and I think Wanda's going to have to see two Visions die again, and that's going to drive her insane.
That's where I'm at, too. We're on the same page. Matt?
Actually, I think that I don't think it's going to be exactly that. My guess is that she is going to see the two Visions fight, and the two Visions are not going to be able to defeat each other, and she's going to be so happy that she's has her Vision back, but she's going to have to sacrifice him, and willingly. So like she's going to lose again, but she's going to have to willingly lose. And I think the Visions are going to be fused. I think that you can't have White Vision moving forward, because White Vision is boring and he's just an android. He doesn't have all the personality that original and Married to WandaVision had. And to do that would be a waste of Paul Bettany and a waste of Disney's money. And especially after you built this amazing relationship. And like you mentioned earlier about the relationship, like they're the couple, they're the it couple.
They are the couple now.
And which is amazing to me, because they were never the couple in comics. Like
they were the couple in Infinity War. That's when they became the couple.
That's when they became the couple. And for a couple that was always, C, maybe B couple tops in the comics, they are the A couple now.
What a strange premise to have an android fall in love with a witch.
Yeah.
Like, what on earth?
I mean, they make it work. I mean, and these are, and remember, these are C characters in the comics for most of their history. These are not A characters.
Yeah, they're elemental P characters. I mean, they're part of the Avengers, sure, but
they weren't
in the
prime
80s and
players.
90s. Nobody cared about Vision. Nobody cared about Wanda.
Everyone cared about X-Men. That's what they cared about in the 90s.
Yeah, like no one cared about these characters that much. So having them be the it would not make sense to just abandon that. So I think that they fuse these two together, and Wanda doesn't realize
Wonder Man. Maybe that's Wonder Man.
Well, and White Vision can exist outside the Hex, but so like, how do you find that way to fuse it? So like, I'm all in on that.
That's
Wanda manipulates reality to fuse them together. That way, Vision can leave the Hex, and it's going to be a different. It'll be a different Vision, because I don't think he will remember his time as an Avenger, because that part of him is gone with the Mind Stone. but we'll have this newer Vision who's, you know, has memories of Westview with Forward.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yeah. To add on to what you said, Matt, I think if she is making a sacrifice, the only way she's making a sacrifice is for those kids. It's the only way. I think she'd rather the whole city die than lose her kids, personally. I think that's where she's at as a character.
Oh, no doubt about it.
Will the hex grow? I'm actually going to say no. Up to this point, I thought it would, but now I think the threat Agatha wants to use Wanda to learn chaos magic. That's what I think.
My thought is that they have set Agatha to be, you know, this character that you just don't know about the entire time, to the reveal, you know, it was Agatha all along, and showing, hey, she's the big bad, and everyone jumped on, you know, most people jumped on board. She's the big bad. She's the big bad. And I really think she is going to do what she did in the books, and that is teach Wanda to control her powers and real magic, because Wanda is too dangerous as raw as she is. Wanda is just too dangerous as a raw power. And we saw that in House of M with No More Mutants. And, you know, as they've, you know, beefed up Wanda's powers or unlocked them, we realize, pretty much grief. You know, grief makes her go crazy. She breaks, she snaps, and more power comes out. So you need someone to help her rein that in. And I believe that they're going to eventually lead down that way, where Agatha is going to help her rein it in and, you know, self-serve herself within that process. And hopefully, you know, maybe we see some, you know, Fantastic Four people show up because of this reining in process.
I guess it'd be my train of thought with, as Matt said, just gotta find, I think she's not the overarching bad person, the antagonist in this. I think it's Hayward, or if he's a Skrull, or Mephisto, or whoever. And I don't think the hex is gonna grow, because I think Agatha's gonna want to help her learn this magic, or is more interested and curious about that.
Will Doctor Strange appear? I think that's the hard yes.
Yes.
He's got to. I mean, probably end credits, but it doesn't.
Yeah, I think it's end credits now too. Before I would have said he's like part of episode 9, but not anymore. I think he's end credits. We talked about how it's ending, but any craziness you're anticipating for the ending? Full disclosure, I don't know where to go. I don't know where we're going.
Unless it's another red herring, which apparently Marvel 2021 is just like, that's what we're going to give the people because we want to keep them on their toes at all times.
There's not going to be a 10th episode, Mark. There's not. No.
That's not where I'm going with it. I love that. I'm
just putting it out there. There are people that ask that right now. I'm like, no. They're marketing it as this is the last episode.
Okay, so what I'm saying is, you know, we're supposed to still get this Skywalker level cameo.
We got that already. Bettany was talking about himself.
Whatever. Let's say he's not talking.
I'm serious. I think he was talking about himself.
Here. Yes, I said that before. I think we're gonna get a big name X-Men character, whether that be Ian McKellen as Magneto, Fassbender as Magneto, or an older looking Fassbender as Magneto, or maybe
McAvoy.
Sure, McAvoy, or maybe we get a Fantastic Four type of thing.
Okay, so you said Fantastic Four type of thing, and here's where I'm going to make the Infinity Bros universe cry. I do not
Hurt me
in any way, shape, form, or fashion want to see John Krasinski as Reed Richards. I look at his face and I see a goober. He looks like a goober. He does not look like someone who's intelligent in any way, shape, form, or fashion. And don't give me the whole Amazon Prime, Jack Ryan stuff, because he still looks like a goober with a beard. I look at him and I can't take him seriously as like the world's second smartest man. I can't do it.
Mark.
And he does not look like a man that could get a woman like Sue Storm.
Well, if you have his wife play Sue Storm, then like that literally has happened.
Yeah, but see, I don't dig her. So
who would you cast as Reed Richards? Top 2 people you'd want. It's
tough because like you know what? Who would be my Reed Richards? And I don't. if it was 10 years ago, 10 or 15 years ago, I would say I would want Clooney to be Reed Richards because he's distinguished, he's articulate, and he would have enough gray. He could have those flecks of gray that were Reed is like at his best. When they gave Reed those gray stripes on the side. I don't know why. Like no one's naturally hair grows that way, but the gray.
Clooney's 59.
See, he's too old now. But 10, 15 years ago, he would be perfect.
Yeah, that's tough.
And you don't have to worry about him trying to be an action star because it's all CGI with the stretching. Right now, man,
dude, they're going. I'm putting it. I said it last week. It wasn't really talked about. They're going a person of color for this. I think they're going to go a biracial or multiracial family. I just don't see it. I think Marvel's making it very clear they want to diversify their cast moving forward.
That's fine, but I don't think they will. I think they learned from the lesson that they didn't get involved with that fan-forced travesty of a film, and when you've got all these people who are like, oh, how is Johnny black and Sue's white? Huh? What?
Yeah, that part I can get behind. I think I'm more speaking to like Reed and Susan being different ethnicities, and the kids would be
Reed and Susan being different ethnicities makes more sense than, look, let's just talk about a little bit. We can suspend reality with movies and TV shows because it's rooted a little bit in reality. And the reality of life is it's extremely rare to have black families adopting white kids. It's not that common. It rarely happens. And not because we don't love white kids. It's just generally the white kids are already adopted. Like it's not something that I look at and be like, yeah, I can believe that.
Yeah, that was just a strange choice. Mark, close us out here and we'll move on.
Glenn Howerton.
I don't know who
Reed
that
Richards.
is.
Dennis Reynolds from Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
I don't hate that pick, Mark. I don't
Okay.
love
But
it.
he has that smoldering look that is someone that's like, that dude could be intelligent. If not Reed Richards, I know I was Nick Cage for Victor Von Doom earlier, but now this popped in my head. He also would make a very good Victor Von Doom.
I'm kind of floored. Like Matt, you actually kind of nailed it with George Clooney, man.
Clooney would have been perfect.
Clooney 10 years ago would have been
And
fired.
I'll tell you who would make a great Victor Von Doom.
Oh, tell it. Who?
My man, I can't pronounce his name because it's one of those, one of those European names I just can't pronounce. But the dude who played Jaime Lannister, Nikolaj, whatever, Coster, whatever.
Oh, yeah. I know. Yeah,
Nick Coster-Waldau,
in.
something like that. He would be a fantastic Doctor Doom, in my opinion.
No, I think it's got to be Giancarlo Esposito. Personally, I think he would just
Giancarlo's too old.
Oh,
I mean, Giancarlo's amazing. Here's the thing. Again, reality. Giancarlo's too old, and Latveria is a European European country. And you again,
I know. I just want him to
it
do
would
it.
not make any sense to have this one black dude ruling this extremely homogenous country.
Yeah, you're right.
Also, back to the Reed Richards. I had one more because it just popped in my head too. The guy from Bridgerton, the Roger Jean Page, that dude has the look for Reed Richards.
I'm seriously still
I'm all
stuck.
in on that now.
I'm still stuck on Clooney. I'm like, man, that's absolutely.
You're gonna have to get over it. It's not gonna be Clooney. It's not gonna be Nick Cage.
If they started the MCU and they had Clooney, it would have been amazing. And I'm not even like a Clooney guy, but he would have been amazing.
You're absolutely right. Let's head over to Nerd News where we talk about the things in pop culture that are hitting the news. Mortal Kombat trailer came out a few weeks ago, guys. This one was kind of surprising to me for a couple reasons. One, I totally forgot that a Mortal Kombat movie was coming out. Full disclosure, totally forgot. Two, it was a rated R trailer. So they showed things. And three, and I'll just start before I ask you guys your opinion. They blew the doors off of this trailer. This This is one of the most surprising trailers I've ever seen in my life, much less this year. I think they did a tremendous job. 6 out of 6. I had zero interest going into this movie. I was not going to watch it. Mortal Kombat's cool and all. They're even adding a new character to this. I absolutely loved it. I thought this was a great trailer. I was shocked. This could be a long-term franchise if they do this correctly. 6 out of 6 for me. Matt, what do you think of this trailer?
I'm a Street Fighter guy, so MK has always been, second banana for me. I figured I was going to watch the movie, especially if it comes out, like on HBO Max, because I don't have to worry about paying to go to the theater to see it. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay, look, to be honest, I didn't watch the trailer until you mentioned we were going to talk about it, because I was like, Mortal Kombat's not my thing. I saw the first movie.
That's literally how I felt before I watched this trailer. I totally get it.
The trailer was well done. I have one problem with the trailer, and it's not that trailer in particular. It is modern trailers right now. Is you're giving me too much. You're showing me way too much. I should not see Scorpions get over here in the trailer, because I'm waiting to see that in the film. If you want me to see the film, you can't give me too much, because now I've already seen like 5 fatalities and the get over here within 2 minutes. Like, what am I going to see the movie for? Like, you show me everything that I really want to see. You show me a fire dragon. Like, what else is left?
I think it's a fine line to walk too.
We see Jax getting his arms cut off, and then with the metal arms.
Yeah, Jax loses his arms to Sub-Zero. We see the new character. We see a fire dragon. We see the get over here. We see Sub-Zero kill like 8 cats. Like, what else is left for the movie? Like, I really don't know what's left. A bunch of exposition from Sonya Blade. Like,
what's your rating of this? What's your rating of this, Matt?
My rating for the trailer is a 4, because they gave me way too much. Kano with the eye beam, way too much.
I think there's more to it, but I could be wrong. Especially if it's an HBO Max movie, I could be very, very wrong, as we learned with Wonder Woman. Mark, what was your thoughts on this trailer?
I get why they do the get over here and show you so much, because they want you to get hyped for it and come watch it. But it's like stuff like that. It's like, I know it's going to be in there, so why show me now? Why not just like make me anticipate while I watch it, like when it's going to happen?
Yeah, exactly. Or fake me out. Like, have him throw it and then cut to black and just hear him say get over here and not actually see him do it.
Yeah, I think for me too. Mark, what's your rating real quick before I share this story?
4.7 out of 6.
Okay, I think for me, I just really like Makad Brooks. I thought he did a good job in Supergirl. Honestly, when he left that show, I thought like, okay, Supergirl sucks now. But Ludi Lin is great too. Mark, you know what Ludi Lin's in, right?
I do not, off the top of my head.
He's from Power Rangers, the new Power Rangers movie.
Your favorite version of the Power Rangers.
I know, it's one of my. Well, I like that movie a lot.
I know you like that movie a lot.
I like that movie a lot.
You like that movie a little too much.
I think Ludi Lin. I have said, I've gone on record, I think Ludi Lin would have been a great Shang-Chi as well. I believe he even auditioned for the role. So
on that topic, though, before we go on, who should Naomi Scott play in the MCU?
Susan Storm.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. No, I liked it, but I understand what you're saying, Matt. I guess for me, the reason I liked this so much was because I was in the camp of I didn't want to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's a fine line. Like, I had no interest. So honestly, you need to kind of give me more. Do you need to give hardcore Mortal Kombat fan more? Absolutely not. We didn't need to see Jax's arms get broken off. That is a completely fair piece of feedback. But you know what? For Mortal Kombat, the 2 main characters that we need to see something from are Scorpion and Sub-Zero, in my opinion. I think we have to see something.
Sure.
We don't have to see so much. The quantity was high. I enjoyed it, but I could see why other people...
Like, trailers used to be a tease, and they're not a tease anymore. And that's the problem. It's the trailer formula.
Let's get to this trailer. And Matt, I'm dying to know your thoughts just about this whole concept.
Okay.
We've talked about the Snydercut a bunch of times. Mark and I are in what we would call a positive camp on this film. However, I even myself, for somebody who, when DC Fandom came out, I was like, this is the best thing about this so far. In my opinion, that was the best thing. Now even I'm starting to get fatigued at the concept of this Justice League movie. Before we break down how you felt about this trailer, are you like, what's your rating about the Snyder Cut occurring and happening? And that's a broad question, so go however you want with that.
A lot of people have been looking at, and waiting in such anticipation for this, Snyder Cut, Snyder's going to save the DCEU. Man, I just don't believe in Zack Snyder that much. And to me, I don't know how much it's going to change anything from how goofy and bad the first movie was. The tone, some of the good parts about the movie, especially some of the more lighthearted moments, you're probably not going to have. Aquaman sitting on the lasso of truth and spilling his guts. You're probably not going to have that because this looks like it's supposed to be a lot darker, a lot grittier. So, I don't know. I can tell you that I'm not more intrigued to see it. I'll probably watch it because my fandom commands it.
Yeah, your community's gonna need you to watch it.
Well, not even just the community. Like it took me a long time to watch. I didn't watch Justice League until it was on HBO because
you made a good choice.
And I'm glad I did. And I watched them. Like I'm really, really glad I didn't pay money to see this, because it wasn't good. And I don't believe that Snyder adding on an hour or more is gonna fix that. I don't think he can fix clunky, dialogue where, Aquaman is talking to Bruce Wayne out in public and he's like, dressed as a bat, Bruce Wayne, you're crazy. I'm like, dude, you're just telling everyone he's Batman. You realize that, right? I don't think any amount of sepia tone and, dark side and Jesus Joker is going to change all that.
Gosh, Jesus Joker is the dumbest part of this whole new process, in my opinion. But I can't.
Remember that Joker is supposed to be part of the nightmare sequence. So.
For sure, Mark. But there was no need to even consider putting Joker in this, and I'm pretty excited about it. Mark, how many times have you watched this trailer?
I've watched it in full twice. I've watched the Joker part probably 10 times.
I was gonna say I was kind of hoping you would go yes to the question of how many times have you watched it. What's your rating of this trailer, Mark? Because I'm very interested to know what you think about this.
I don't know. I don't like going back to the original question about Snyder Cut fatigue. Just give me the movie now. Like F your trailers. Because I just wasn't all in. I didn't feel hype like I go back to like the Batman trailer, like the new one with Robert Pattinson. I love that trailer. I watched that before we got on. I could watch that over and over and get hyped, but like now it's just like, okay, give me the movie. You could have just back to what Matt said, just give me a 30-second teaser of this. Just show me more Joker stuff. Like stuff that's like, okay, yeah, the Joker's in it now. He's got some scenes. Oh, great. Now I'm more hype. I don't need a 2-minute trailer.
Yeah.
I tell you what I would have liked to see, even though I'm not a fan of Leto's Joker. Something that would have, I think, visually would have been cool, showing the nightmare, but also rang true to Batman fans, and maybe helped Leto's Joker out a little bit, is to have him be more like Hamill. So if you had him in the purple suit, and I don't know if either you remember from the animated the animated series where there's a scene where Joker's just sitting cross-legged on a block and he's going down this ramp, not a ramp, but if you've worked in a machine shop or factory, a rotator belt. He's on the rotator belt and he's just sitting there and he's just grinning and he's just doing the that was the black and white would have been creepy. It would have been very Jokerish, and it would have been so anti-Leto Joker that it would have cast a better and different light on having him in there, because I don't know many people who are interested or care that he's in it. Most of them are like, I don't want him in it at all because they're afraid he's going to, again, be the worst part of another DC movie.
There's no need for him in this.
There isn't a need.
There's no need. It is a marketing ploy.
See, I think the way they executed it, from what I've seen, it is a marketing ploy. But to say there's no need at all, I believe, is incorrect, because if you're establishing a different Batman, if you're going to build from this, then Joker is he's that main villain. So that to have him makes sense if you're going to build off of it. If you're going to bring in a Jason Todd and he kills, and Joker kills him, and you're going to grow from this. If you're not going to grow from it, then you're absolutely right, Max. It's a marketing ploy. It's a waste of time and space, and then I'm going to be pissed off about it. But
I just don't seem to think, Matt, and I don't know, Mark, maybe you've changed since we've talked about it last, but I just think this is their last rodeo with this. I think this is Snyder saying, I'm giving everything I've got and what I wanted.
And
so that way down the line,
it better rock my socks off like Lady Gaga does.
Exactly, because he's talked about it for years.
Like, if my socks don't get rocked off from this, it's just gonna be disappointing. And people are gonna be like, know what? Maybe we didn't need Snydercut, but no, we did need that freaking movie that I saw back in 2017. I paid $15 for opening day and haven't watched it since because I couldn't stand the CGI'd out mustache of Superman.
Oh, so bad.
Because
opening
how
scene.
does that get by anybody? Be like, oh, this is good. Check. Put it in the beginning of the scene, because that was the poorest, pardon my language, piss poor way to open a superhero movie.
It was so bad. I wish I'm gonna have to send you guys my Twitter Twitter thread of when I watched that movie, because good God, I couldn't believe it. The only good thing was
it's a grind, man.
The only good thing was I tweeted and mentioned one of the actors who was in it, and he responded, and I enjoy his work. So he didn't have a big role, which is obviously why. Because
I'm excited about this movie. I think this trailer, I wish this was the first and only trailer they had given.
Yep.
I think this trailer suffers from when it was given out, not previous stuff. I think if this was the first trailer we got in general about Justice League, without Joss Whedon and all that, I think it'd be a completely different conversation right now.
But that is not the way it happened, and it will be. It just.
You see, I disagree on that, because it's the first trailer. I mean, I know it's the second trailer, but it's the first one I watched, and I'm still like, nah, man.
That's fair. That's fine. Well, and I know too, for you made the healthy and correct choice to not watch that Justice League. You have a little more self-control than I do. I think I just want to go watch them, I think.
I guess just to jump back in again, I just hope this does well enough where WB is like, you know what? We did good here with a, buddy superhero movie. Let's make the Justice League dark, and then we get a good Justice League dark movie. That's what
our next story here, I think, pretty much says that's not going to happen, Mark. It's a perfect transition. Superman movie reboot will reportedly introduce a black Superman. It's a brand new era. This comes from comicbook.com. Brand new era for the Man of Steel is set to come soon, with prolific author Ta-Nehisi Coates teaming with J.J. Abrams from the DC Comics reboot of Superman. It looks like this will be a major change from the cinematic appearance of the character, though not one comic fans aren't used to, as reports indicate this take on Superman will in fact be a black man. It was from Hollywood Reporter that seems to confirm that Coates will involve a black Superman. This also follows in the wake of reports that Michael B. Jordan was developing a similar Superman project years ago. I was gonna say, if Michael B. Jordan's in it, it's a completely
that was my first thought. I was like, it better be Michael B. Jordan as Superman, because that's what I want. But what pisses me off?
Well, see, I love Michael B. Jordan, but look, I'm coming from this as a black man. There are times in Hollywood where they pick one black dude, one black woman, and they throw them in everything. And as much as I love Michael B. Jordan, he is currently that dude. Unless it's a comedy, then they throw in Kevin Hart. But he's right now that oversaturated black man. He probably would do great by it, but I would personally prefer somebody different. Now, 2 years ago, when Michael B. Jordan announced that he would like to do Superman movie, Unique DNA mentioned, we and I talked about this on the original Jeek podcast, and I want to run this by you because I painted a picture for him of a trailer that I would like to see for this. One, this cannot be Black Kal-El. I don't want to see Black Kal-El. If you're going to give me Black Superman, it needs to be one of the established characters. It needs to be Val Zod, which would be my preference, or it needs to be Calvin Ellis. I don't want to see Kal-El as all of a sudden black. So here's my trailer. Imagine this. Close your eyes. Imagine this. Woman is going down a dark alley in Metropolis. Gang of thugs comes there, grabs her. They're accosting her, trying to take her purse. We see all of a sudden, a strong whoosh of wind comes through, blows everybody's clothes backwards, and the thugs in their shock stop. All of a sudden, another whoosh, and their weapons are gone. The woman, clutching her purse, runs deeper into the alley, and she stands in, of course, one of those lights that somehow magically is shining in this one area. And the criminals are still there, and they're just in utter shock. And the camera pans up towards the top of a building, and then it slams down, and landing in the three-point stance is Michael B. Jordan, dressed in the blue Val Zod uniform. He lifts his head up from the three-point stance as he stands up and looks at them and says, "Kneel before Zod." And then you have your Superman logo.
You're cool with Michael B. Jordan? Because what you just said is you're oversaturated with this actor.
Oh, no, I'm oversaturated with. I mean, I would love. He can do it, and he probably will do it. I'm just saying that I would prefer it to be a fresh face, but I know how.
So that's the direction I want to go with this because
Yeah.
I love your trailer concept. I think it's awesome. I'd be like all in 6 out of 6. Where would you lean then off of that? Would you lean towards more of a Jonathan Majors? I know we talked about him today because he's taking Kang. Like you and I are talking online on that.
Majors has a fantastic build too, and unlike Michael B. Jordan, he's not like I think Michael B. Jordan's 5'10", like he's normal height, but Majors is like a legit like 6'3".
Yeah, Majors would fill out the costume so much better in my opinion.
Yes, most definitely.
He would tower over people.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Yes, he would.
He would give that look. That very intimidating look. Michael B. Jordan has so much range where he can be, he can be intimidating, but he can be nice. He can be soft. Majors he's intimidating. He looks like someone who you're not to mess with. So he would be a fantastic choice. And if he wasn't signed to be Kang, I would be all in on Majors
for sure. I guess just for me after Lovecraft Country. To me, he feels like the next up-and-comer. It feels to me like Hollywood will be going his direction more.
Oh, definitely.
So I would like him to slide into a role like this before, as you say, we get oversaturated with an actor like that. Mark, where do you lean? Are you like all in on Michael B. Jordan? Let's not talk about anybody else in this conversation. Where are you at with this?
Michael B. Jordan is the safe Hollywood choice because he's got an audience and people go watch him. No matter what he's in. I can't believe that we're getting a reboot Superman before we even get a true sequel to Man of Steel.
That's fair.
But I guess I'll just never get that ever, apparently.
And let's not act like Cavill doesn't look like the picture perfect Superman. Like, I look at him and I'm like, dude, you were born to play Superman.
And maybe this is Warner Brothers' plan is just to have multiverse movies. And I agree with you, Matt. I think it has to be Vlad Zod. I think that you gave me chills on my spine with the Kneel Before Zod, and I think that might be more played off as a joke than him being a villain or a bad person. But I'm blanking on the actor's name, but the guy who plays M'Baku in Black Panther,
Winston Duke.
Yes,
Winston Duke would be great for him too.
I would like him. I don't know how tall he is, but he's just like a big guy. And it's just like, that's what I want in a Superman. It's just like a jacked dude. I don't know why that's like in my mind. And if that sounded weird, but that's what
It didn't sound weird.
Cavill was a no-name too coming into Man of Steel. Am I correct on this?
Excuse me, did you not watch The Tudors?
He was a no-name.
You know what, Mark? I'm gonna go ahead and claim that I didn't and still call him a no name.
Okay, Winston
and I think
Duke is
that might be a
6'5".
direction they have to go
Winston
here too.
Duke has to be Superman. He is 6'5".
Yeah,
wow,
Winston
yeah.
Duke is massive.
Dude, he's so big that in Endgame he was running with all the heroes, and you didn't like blink at all. You're like, yeah, he belongs there. No CGI for him. He's probably the only one running on the screen when they did the filming. It's all people in green screen, and then he's running his Wakandan outfit.
Winston Duke is alone in Africa running during this shot.
For real, yeah. He's in the heart of Atlanta. They're all sweating. He's in that Wakandan outfit, and they're out in their warehouse wherever they're filmed. Oh my gosh. Let us know who you think is a perfect Superman and give us your feedback on all this. Guys, we're running late on time, so unfortunately I don't think we're going to be able to get to the rumors today. We'll put those off for next week, but we will head over to the top 5.
We're going in 3,
Infinity Bros
2,
Top 5
1.
list starts now. Is it already safe to say that next week, like, there's no way we're getting to little bits after next week?
Oh, next week has to be all WandaVision.
Yeah, and then the top 5 will just be WandaVision moments from.
However, I want to tease you guys this with my hot. I had one I want to talk to you guys about. This could be off thing, but I gotta say it really quick. So I'm in a rewatch of like watching WCW, WWF, ECW in sequential order. I started in middle of '96 or no May of '96, and now I'm in like September '97. Watched the September 22nd episode of Nitro. It's also the first Goldberg episode of Nitro. He wrestles Hugh Morris. Hugh Morris comes out. I hear his entrance music. It's different this time. It sounds just like the Wonder Woman theme. Google Hugh Morris theme WCW, and there's 2 of them, and one will definitely give you the wow, that sounds like the Wonder Woman theme, like the new Wonder Woman theme. So go check that out.
So are you claiming before? Again, this is nothing to do with top 5.
I'm not claiming this. So in the 90s, Turner Broadcasting got bought out by AOL Time Warner. So technically that song could exist in Warner property. So when someone's developing that song, they take bits from it. It's not exactly like the Wonder Woman, but there's like pieces in it where it's like, if you like double track that, just go listen to it and let me know. That's how
music goes, though. Like that's how music is in general.
Well, it just, Warner product, Warner song.
And the movie was just as bad as watching a Hugh Morris match. So
the second one.
Well, I mean, Hugh Morris put together is humorous, so bad humorous.
Until he became General Erection, but that's a whole nother story.
Huge erection, yeah, I know. There you go, Max. Yeah, that was his name. That was on TV. That was
can't edit that out.
Said on TV.
No, that was on TV with Major Guns and Corporal Cajun and Lieutenant Loco.
Yeah, it got wild in the 1990s, 2000 WCW.
Gosh, this was the thing I did not like about you two being together on this show is I knew eventually we'd get down a wrestling rabbit hole, and we would have if. I know. Well, I'm sorry. It's been 2 hours.
Hey,
I'm sorry.
Aren't you happy though when Matt used heel and babyface and you understood that reference?
I will say that my education of wrestling through you has really come into. I totally understood what Matt was saying in that moment. 2 years ago, there's no way I understand that reference. Not even a chance. But education has come.
Come on, that's easy to pick up though.
Yeah,
people call bad people heels all the time.
I never watched wrestling, and I don't know. It's a fun bit for Mark and I, for him to talk about wrestling and then look at me while I'm annoyed at it. For whatever reason, I think it brings him joy. I think.
I love it.
Our top 5 for this week is top 5 guilty pleasures. Now, this one was a little tricky. I wonder if some of the movies on our list will be viewed that way, but it's to each his own. Are there any honorable mentions that either of you would like to add? I have none.
This one was tricky for me because, what to you is a guilty pleasure? It's like, I went with things that people would not expect me to like. Okay.
I went ones with like, people didn't expect me to like, ones that people don't like, but I love. And then also ones that like, I just can't get enough watching it. if that makes sense.
That makes sense.
I did the Google route where I was like, okay, what does Google classify it?
Of course.
And then I saw that list and I was like, okay, there's one on this list that I'm like, I cannot believe is on this list. So I'm totally putting it on my list.
Okay.
Just because Google is calling it
then
this.
I have one honorable mention.
Okay.
It's my favorite Disney movie of all time. It always has been, and I sometimes, as a grown man, almost 4 years old, I watch it to soothe myself to sleep. And that is The Rescuers. The original Rescuers, 1977. Absolutely love that movie.
Love it. That's a great film. That's classic. All right, we'll go number 5. Mark, we'll start with you.
My number 5 is Demolition Man.
Oh, great choice.
With Stallone
Wesley Snipes.
and Wesley Snipes.
Simon Phoenix, baby.
Isn't that the movie where like the shells are like the most expensive like thing in the world or something? Like there's something about the shells in that
shells are there's the three shells that you use to do something with the bathroom. They never explain how it works.
And Taco Bell is like the biggest company in the world.
And the fancy dining.
Yes.
It's Taco Bell.
Yeah, I haven't seen that movie in forever.
There's rumors that there might be a second one.
Oh, they're for sure going to at least reboot it, right? Like, there's too much nostalgia with that one.
Well, I heard it was going to be a sequel, not or if I said reboot, I meant sequel.
Yeah, I heard sequel as well.
We'll see.
I mean, Stallone and Snipes are still kicking, and so is Sandra Bullock. You can do
Stallone ain't going anywhere for a while. I feel like he's got some. He just seems like he's got a lot of health. I don't know how he's healthy with all those steroids he's taking, but
First Blood 25 with Sylvester Stallone.
Number 5 for me. It's funny you mentioned Disney because this is my number 5. Sleeping Beauty. I defend this movie a lot. This to me is one of the best Disney movies ever made to this day. It's got a great story behind it on how they made it, but also I think this is the best Disney villain of all time in Maleficent. Sleeping Beauty is my number 5 guilty pleasure. So, Matt, go ahead.
All right, my number 5, staying in the world of animation, is the feature film A Boy Named Charlie Brown.
Classic. Mark, number 4.
My number 4 is Mallrats.
That's a good choice. I'm kind of surprised it's a guilty. I mean, it is a cult film, but
Cult film, not a lot. I mean, for its time, it was a bomb in the box office, and then got more steam when it went on video. But it's just like that one's more of a like kind of with you and Rescuers. Like that's my movie. Is just it's brings me back nostalgia wise to like younger days when I guess I watched that when I was like 10.
probably yeah. You watched it when you were too young to watch it.
Yeah, so but still I love it, and I'm a big fan of Kevin Smith. So,
dude, that's literally for me number 4 with Starship Troopers. That was the first rated R movie I ever watched. Like, Starship Troopers is such a bad movie. I love Starship Troopers. I watched Starship Troopers the day my daughter was born in the hospital because it was the only thing on TV that I thought was worth watching. Starship Troopers Wales.
learn a little something about it.
Anybody that saw it, I think, generally in the 90s loves that movie. Like, if you saw it then, you like it. If you see it now, you're like, what are these people talking about? Why do they like this film?
There are so many sketchy scenes in that movie.
Oh, yeah.
Like, my wife's watching, like, fresh off of giving birth, watching these movies. She's like, what are you watching? I said, this is Starship Troopers. This is peak cinema.
You just say Casper Van Dien and a young Denise Richards, and that's all you got to say.
Yeah. And then Mark looks at the camera, and I'm doing my part.
Like, I just think of like Jake Busey in that. Like, you're gonna take like the only thing I could ever think about that Jake Busey's in is this movie.
Well, Busey was in Enemy of the State.
Sure, but like my main, like that's what I'm saying. Like my main mind just goes right to Starship Troopers.
Sure.
Like that's all he's in my mind. That's like literally the only
movie
where
Jay
he
Busey's
exists.
ever done.
Yeah, or TV show.
I
Nothing
love
else.
it. Sure. Number 4, Matt.
Number 4 is so after Success. I have a setup for this one. So before Steven Seagal decided to make questionable films with DMX and Ja Rule, he tested out the theory with another black guy named Keenan Ivory Wayans in The Glimmer Man.
Never even seen this movie. I've never seen this.
Or heard of
The
it.
Glimmer Man is typical Seagal. This was following the success of Under Siege, but then the flop that was Under Siege too. Essentially, he plays it's convoluted, a former CIA or a former FBI, I forget. I think former CIA operative turned LA detective who is a pacifist Buddhist who gets paired up with a streetwise cop in Keenan Ivory Wayans, and they are investigating the family killer who kills families. And of course, they don't mesh because, the brother doesn't mess with Buddhists and et cetera, et cetera. And the action is not that bad, but I love Keenan Ivory Wayans. I'm a huge Keenan Ivory Wayans fan. And I probably should have mentioned A Low Down Dirty Shame in my honorable mentions. I love that film. And it's I enjoy it. I don't know why, because it's not that good. And even Seagal's Aikido in it isn't as strong as it is in others. But for some reason, I just love Keenan in it. And the bad guy was, the one was from JAG, and I was like, and he's out here kicking at Steven Seagal, and I'm like, I don't believe that you can beat him up. Like there's no stakes in this final fight scene at all. But I for some reason I like it. I don't know why. But if it's ever on free TV, watch it. There's a couple funny lines in there.
Seagal fans are so loyal.
Oh yeah,
to Steven Seagal.
I mean, look,
insane.
Seagal's got some great films. I mean, Hard to Kill was great. Under Siege I watched Under Siege last week. It's on HBO. It's a good movie. But then his bad movies like Exit Wounds,
they're bad.
are really bad.
They're bad. His bad movies.
Hey, Seagal,
bad.
let's make a movie with Ja Rule and Morris Chestnut where you're in jail and you're playing a Russian. How does that sound?
I love it.
Is
Mark,
there
number 3.
Hang on, I got back to Steven Seagal. Isn't there a movie where he's like, he plays the whole movie like sitting down, or a majority of it? Like, am I imagining something that doesn't exist? Like he gets shot, and basically the whole movie revolves around him like giving commands while like injured.
I don't know, but that sounds like a really bad Seagal movie.
I love both of us. I love both of us have like such awkward silence. We're like, oh, but I hope Max says something. I hope Max says something because I didn't know where you were going with it.
Okay, moving on.
Number 3.
We're gonna scour IMDb for that film.
Number 3 for me is Ready to Rumble, and I watched this last night.
Oh wow! You're dedicated.
Love this movie. And people hate it. It gave a bad rap to WCW. It basically just railroaded his career.
It put the title on David Arquette.
Yeah, for like to promote the movie, and the movie still bombs. Still love it. I still like. It's just like it feeds the nostalgia juices for me, and it's wrestling related, so I love it.
Yep, I know. Anything wrestling related, Mark's all about.
And it's got DDP, so
Bang.
Yeah.
This is a movie that I don't think either of you know about. This movie is called Lone Star State of Mind. It came out in 2002. Stars Joshua Jackson, Jamie King, Matthew Davis, and DJ Qualls. Literally like a random group of characters.
I've heard of it. I'm not
hysterical.
going to act like I've seen it, but I have heard of
This movie is hysterical. It's so funny. It's 90 minutes long. It's just great. It's a guilty pleasure. It is not a good movie, but it's great, if that makes sense. Not a good movie. You're not paying to go see it. But if it's on TV and you watch it start to finish, it's got some great laughs. This is I don't expect anybody to have seen this, but Lone Star State of Mind. I love this movie. I think you watch it on Prime Video.
You can. I watched it like 2 weeks ago.
You did not watch Lone Star State of Mind.
Yeah, so it's so funny that you bring it up. It's like...
Shut up. You've seen Lone Star State of Mind.
I've seen mostly every movie except for apparently
The Glimmer Man.
Except for that, and I looked it up. I was like, how did I not see this movie? Like, it's in the right time frame where I would like during the days of video rental stores where my mom would bring me, and I would get all the 5 for $5 for VHSs. Just sounds like a movie I would have picked up. But yeah, I've seen it, Max. I don't know how that's a surprise to you. Have you seen
That's a
Mad
surprise.
Max,
That's a
Fury
surprise.
Road?
I don't know many people see it.
It is on Prime. You know what? I'm going to add it to my list and see if I can torture myself.
We lived in Texas for several years. For me, it's funnier if you're from Texas or you know that culture. It's so dumb, but it's hilarious at the same time too. The main character is his girlfriend is his mother's boyfriend's daughter. It's hilarious how they work. It's very funny. It's classic
that
white
sounds more
trash
like
film.
Alabama, but okay.
Yeah, there you go. Then you're getting the vibe. You're picking up the vibe. Number 3 to you, Matt.
My number 3 is also it's not a good movie, but it has 2 actors that I thoroughly enjoy, and for some reason I overpaid at Suncoast Video to buy this movie because for some reason I love it. I paid $20 dollars to buy a copy of I Spy with Eddie Murphy and Owen Wilson.
I Spy is so good. Oh my gosh.
I love Eddie. I love the boxing
Yes.
scenes with Eddie, and my favorite is the sexual healing scene where he's trying to guide him to try to seduce Famke Johnson, and Famke was looking freaking-tastic in that film. But that scene alone, just hilarious.
Oh my gosh, you're bringing me back. I haven't seen that movie
Also
in so
on
long.
Amazon Prime. You could back to back.
Oh
watch
man,
it, folks.
I might be watching that. I might watch that tomorrow. That movie is so funny.
All right, Affinity Bros Universe, we're setting a movie playlist for y'all to watch.
My gosh, I Spy is hilarious. That movie is so funny. Mark, number 2.
My number 2, and this falls in line with more. I think a lot of people like this movie, but it's Mean Girls. My number 2 is Mean Girls.
Wow.
I love this movie for some reason. It I don't know if it's because the year came out and where I was as a person then, but I still love and enjoy watching this movie, and I find it hilarious, even though I've probably watched it over 100 times.
You know, it shocks me the amount of men that I know who have seen that movie and loved it. Like, I've never seen it. I've never seen a minute of it. But there are so many dudes I know, they're like, yeah, I like Mean Girls. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, and you feel bad about it too. It's really weird. You're right, Mark. You do feel bad about
And to be out there, it's not a sexual reason.
Because it
It's
wasn't
not because I find them attractive. It's I just really love it, and just it always felt like a movie. As a man, I can be I really love Mean Girls. I've owned it on DVD, Blu-ray, and have it on my streaming service,
But it's not like you were the target demographic for it.
so I can watch it no matter where I'm at. And
Mark, dude, you're kind of you and I are on the same wavelength here at number 2. Not the same movie, but the same wavelength. My number 2 is Valentine's Day. I think Valentine's Day is hilarious. I watch it every Valentine's Day. This movie is so funny. I don't know how people don't talk about this movie enough, in my opinion. Everybody and their mom is in it. You've got, here we go, Jessica Alba, Kathy Bates, Jessica Biel, Bradley Cooper, Patrick Dempsey, Jamie Foxx, Jennifer Garner, Topher Grace, Anne Hathaway, Ashton Kutcher, Taylor Lautner, and in her best role, her best film role ever, Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift steals the show on Valentine's Day. She's the funniest character. This is a great movie, Valentine's Day. Not a good movie, but it's a great movie.
I can tell you why it probably doesn't get the hype you think it should. Is because it fell within that string of movies where, every Valentine's Day, they had to have a huge ensemble cast rom-com. You know, they started with America's Sweethearts, and then they continued, and it was like, okay, here it comes February. Here comes another ensemble cast, long-winded rom-com, and it fell in there. I've never seen it because after
that was I'd say 2005 to 2015 that for whatever reason they just felt like they needed to do that with every movie. This one stuck the landing for me. I enjoy it.
a quick Google of this, it has an 18% on Rotten Tomatoes, so it's rotten. Had a budget of $52 million, box office $216.5 million. It made
Worth every penny.
so still made
That's
money,
facts.
but I've seen this movie. It is I don't know what it doesn't. It's bad, it's good type of movie to me. So I
Yeah,
would
exactly. Yeah.
Well, it clearly had the star power. So my number 2 may be a movie that Mark hasn't seen, but we'll put him to the test here. This is an 80s movie. If you decide to watch it, it is horrible. The plot's bad. The majority of the acting is bad. and the main star is not in the good graces of people, but it is Leonard Part 6, starring Bill Cosby.
Yeah, you got me. I've never.
Okay, so Leonard Part 6 is a spy parody. So pretty much a James Bond type spy, where Bill Cosby drives a car with a tank turret on top. And
Oh my gosh.
it's bad, but it's a movie I watched as a kid.
Find it.
I found it hilarious. There's a scene where he's meeting his ex-wife and they have dinner at her place, and she just dumps salad all over him, and it's it's bad, but it makes me laugh just thinking about it. Leonard Part 6, and no, there is not parts 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. The movie is just literally Leonard Part 6.
I'm gonna have to watch this movie.
Gosh, Bill Cosby, man. That's a whole other podcast we could have.
Indeed.
Oh, man. Bill Cosby. Mark, number 1.
My number 1 is gonna shock the nation. It is a cult classic. I saw this at probably way too young to have watched it. I think I might have been 6 or 7 when I first watched this, so like maybe this will explain who I am as a person. The Rocky Horror Picture Show is my number 1 guilty pleasure movie. It, again, just like Mean Girls, have it like on every platform. I have like collectible stuff from Rocky Horror Picture Show. I have a vinyl album of the soundtrack. I have it on CD. I have it on cassette. I have it on my phone. I am all in on the Rocky Horror Picture Show. I don't know why I find it so fascinating. It is also my top musical of all time. And it's got a good cast of characters. It's got Tim Curry. Why am I blanking on her name? Susan Sarandon. It's got Meatloaf. Got Barry Boswick. And then, the creator of it, who plays Riff Raff. Just, I'm all in. Rocky Horror Picture Show. So go watch it.
Nah, I'm good. Number 1 for me, and it's literally only because Google called it this. Google calls this a guilty pleasure. It's Ace Ventura.
That's because Ace Ventura ain't funny. I did not. I didn't. I was the
Deep
target.
sigh.
I was the target market for Ace Ventura. I did not find. I haven't found Jim Carrey funny since In Living Color.
Gosh. Oh, Ace Ventura is. I could not disagree more. I think that movie cracks me up start to finish every time I watch it. To me, it's not even a guilty pleasure. But I'm glad to hear you say that, actually, because it affirms to me that it belongs on the list. Because when I put it on the list, I was like, oh, I'm kind of cheating here because I don't think anybody's going to call
I would agree
this.
that it's not a guilty pleasure because I know my opinion on Ventura and on Jim Carrey in general is in the extreme minority. Like, the only Jim Carrey movies I like were Liar Liar and Dumb and Dumber. Everything else he's done, I really haven't enjoyed.
Second Ace Ventura is not good. You are right about
This
that.
isn't a movie, but it's a TV show that I think was on Showtime, if I'm remembering that right. It's called Kidding, where he plays like a Mr. Rogers type character that kind of like goes crazy. And it came out in I remember the first season came out 2 years ago. There's only 2 seasons of it, so 20 episodes. I recommend go and watching it. It is not a typical Jim Carrey show or movie, but it's not but there's still comedy involved, but it's deep comedies. Yeah. I'd recommend that for people that advocate against Jim Carrey's humor. I'm not a big Jim Carrey humor movie guy. I'm with you. Ace Ventura isn't the best. Not a fan of Dumb and Dumber.
I feel so much better that you guys are crapping on it because now I feel better about putting it on my list.
Good. I'm
Thank
glad
you
you
for
were
crapping on it.
justified.
I do feel justified. And number 1 guilty pleasure for you, Matt.
All right, I'm going to throw in one more honorable mention because because Mark mentioned musicals. So honorable mention, "Singing in the Rain" to me is the GOAT musical out there, and also I just for some reason love Bugsy Malone, which is something that Mark may not have seen either. And it is a musical starring a young Scott Baio and a young Jodie Foster. And it's a entirely done with kids musical, except for the singing, which is adults dubbed over, but I love it. And last I checked, it was on Prime, but it might not be anymore. But yes, Bugsy Malone, one of my favorite musicals. My number one is going to be similar to y'all's number two in the world of romance. I love this movie. I watch this movie every Valentine's Day time. I watch this movie anytime I get a chance to because it has Harrison Ford and Greg Kinnear and Julia Ormond. And the soundtrack is some of the best piano that I've ever heard, and I absolutely adore it. And that is the Sabrina remake from 1995. If you haven't seen this movie, I know I haven't. If you haven't seen, this is one your wives will like. Trust me on this one. I had an ex-girlfriend from when I was in high school. She was not like a rom-com love movie type chick. And I had her watch Sabrina, and she was head over heels for it. I have never shown that movie to a woman who did not fall in love with it. It is fantastic.
My memory of Sabrina, so like a lot of these movies were like in 95 or like in the 90s, it feels like, with our top fives. And I like vividly remember the cover of this, and I even like Googled it to like be like, I think I know what you're talking about. And I rented this because I saw Harrison Ford, and I'm like, oh, he's in Indiana Jones, so it's got to be a good movie because it's, you know, back in the day, you just got cover, and you know, I didn't waste my time reading the back of it, being 10 or 12 or whatever. It's like, here's my stuff, and I think my mom probably looked at it and was like, oh, my kid's so effed up. And just like, yeah, so I'm with you. Like, yeah, I need to watch this as an adult now to see if I remember it right.
It is very well done.
Yeah, that was the
awesome.
moment.
Great list.
Yeah, that was the moment. That was the moment.
She's like, Sabrina? Really?
Yeah. There's no way it was anything else. It was that moment.
What, last week I rent you all the Friday the 13th movies? Now you're going rom-coms?
Psychopath. Oh, man. 2 hours plus. Usually we stop at about an hour and a half, but we just couldn't help ourselves this week. But it's all good, man. Hey, Matt, thank you so much for coming on with us and hanging out with us and joking around, man. We definitely. You're talking to two guys. I could talk for another 2 hours if we were left to our own devices.
My esteemed pleasure. I greatly appreciate you all having me on. And
can you real quick, can you just plug where people can find you and if they want to keep the conversation going with you?
Absolutely. So if you want to keep the conversation going with me, personally, you can find me on Twitter at _Rockin Mr Magic. That's Rockin minus the G, MR for Mr, and then MAGIC. You can follow Jeek Nation, JEEK Nation on Twitter and Facebook and Twitch, all at the same at Jeek Nation. And you can find the original Jeek podcast, which is our primary show, on pretty much any podcast option. You can just search for Jeek Nation and you'll find that show, as well as our pro wrestling show, Breaking Ring Rust.
And 2, we'll have a link to that in the show notes. So if that was a lot, don't worry about it. Just click the button below. You'll see the click right here button. Just click that and it'll take you where you need to go, and you can keep the conversation going. Matt, we appreciate you, man, and don't be a stranger. Next time you come on, Unique DNA is coming with you, though, okay? You cannot come back without him.
Oh, I'll bring him.
You're not allowed.
That's happening.
You're not allowed without him.
Okay.
You're not allowed without him. Mark, I took a picture of – I was waiting all day to hear Matt tell you that John Krasinski wasn't the Fantastic Four guy that should be picked, and I took a picture of your reaction, and it doesn't fail, so I'll make sure I put that up maybe on Twitter later.
Oh, good.
It's perfect. It's like the perfect reaction. I'm like, thank you for that. It's awesome. But aside from that, you behaved yourself, and I appreciate that today. Thank you very much.
Of course. I couldn't... gotta keep behaving myself until WandaVision's done.
Yeah.
So I can keep coming back, so you guys invite me back. Before we go, I got another... We're gonna do another Funko giveaway. Let us know what your most guilty pleasure movie is. You can enter that way, share this episode, like this episode, make any comment, just basically interact with us in any way. And first time ever, I'm going to tell you the Funko Pop you're going to win, because I thought it goes well with our guest. It is the Funko Pop of, I'm trying to look back, Paul George Clippers Funko Pop.
Ooh, I'm in for that one.
No need to have it. Just throw it right in the trash. That's where it belongs.
Well, I'm not sending it to you. So
I don't want.
it
You
won't
don't have
end
to
in the
worry. I don't
trash.
want it. I'd send it right to the trash if you sent it to me. Wouldn't be the first or last Funko Pop you've sent to me that's gone in the trash. Thank you, Infinity Bros Universe. Wherever you're listening, however you're listening, thanks for making us part of your day, week, or month. You can check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Follow us on Discord. Check us out on Twitch as well if you've got the itch to Twitch. And as always, we love you guys 3000. We'll see you later. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Infinity Bros podcast. You can find the Infinity Bros on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at the Infinity Bros. Feel free to send listener feedback via email at infinitybrospodcast@gmail.com.